I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Wednesday. This is Breaking the Narrative, and I have with me the lovely Jazmen Jafar here. Hi.
Hi. First of all, your intro, your little like breaking the narrative with all the social media, that was really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My husband's my producer, and he makes all my little intro things, so I will let him know that you said
Yeah, that was really cool.
Thank you. Thank
one
you.
of the best I've seen. I did one with this guy who just, it was like the most bizarre one. He was just like jump roping and rapping. It was so weird.
Was he white?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, at least that's something.
I think if you saw it, you would not have any positives or cup half
like,
full. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. How are you? How was your Halloween?
It was good. I didn't really do anything for Halloween. But I mean, my favorite thing to do is not do anything.
Okay. Yeah, that's understandable. Did you even dress up for Halloween this year, or did you figure out a costume?
Today. I dressed up today and did like a little OnlyFans video and like some real.
What'd you dress as?
Guess. You're not gonna guess. Wait, Elle Woods.
Was it Elle Woods? Oh my God, that's funny. I was like, you didn't do Jazmen again, did you?
No, I did see you did a really good Jazmen though.
Thank you.
Looks really good. Yeah.
Oh my God, I appreciate it. Yeah, I was like, that's why I did the thumbnail for the show was like nice and naughty, because you're the naughty Jazmen.
I'm the naughty Jazmen for sure.
Yeah, and I'm definitely, I would say I'm the nice one. Not like in terms of personality. I'm just like very conservative most of the time, even though, you know, I like a little cleavage here and there, but nudity has never been my thing. So it's really funny because like
we are matching and we both got a little cleavage right now.
I know. The blue wasn't planned, guys. Like we were not planning this out.
I feel like we have like very similar hair colors and like lighter skin, and it's like we're giving those dark feature, light skin, cleavage Persian vibes right now.
It's amazing Persian vibes. And that's why you fascinate me so much. I think it's mostly because you're Persian. Like I don't think I've ever been more fascinated with an OnlyFans person than I am with you. Because like I said, I'm just so conservative when it comes to that stuff. Like when I was little, Jazmen, I never even like up until I was like maybe like in my 20s, I never even got naked in like the locker room in front of women.
Oh, okay.
Like I would always go and like, you know, get in the little stall. Like I would wait because I was like, I'm not getting naked in front of you people. Like I don't know who you are.
Okay.
And it was just weird. Like nudity was so weird for me, but clearly not for you. So
no. And I think part of the reason you think it because you come from like Persian background, so you know how like insane I am.
Yeah. Just a little bit. We don't.
I'm like completely unhinged. So
Oh my God. But tell me, like, how, like, were you always this kind of like free, and or was there a point in your life where you were like, you know what, I'm just gonna get out of this broad. I'm just gonna take it off. Like, when was that point for you?
Okay, so I guess when we're talking about that, I got big boobs when I was really young, like in middle school. So I started getting a lot of sexual attention really young. And interestingly, I didn't like love it, but I didn't hate it. Like, it was just so neutral to me. And that's kind of how I've always felt about it now. Like, it doesn't make me uncomfortable, but I'm used to it. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, I have always really been comfortable with it. Like, I even remember like first time I went in like for something like laser hair removal, and they're like, okay, keep on what you're comfortable with. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. Like, I get naked in front of everyone. I guess I'm the opposite of you, that nudity to me has always just been like, whatever.
Right.
Where like, touch and like that kind of stuff, like intimacy to me is more like, I'm pretty conservative and reserved personally with that.
Oh, that's so interesting. And like, I've always been more of a huggy, kissy kind of person. Like, I've always been more like I love hug. I got in trouble in school because I was the hugger.
Okay.
So like, when I was in Canada, like my mom got a couple phone calls like, you need to rein in your girl. Like, she's always hugging people, and it's like, no, and it's because I grew up on Full House. So I thought like, you know, Danny Tanner taught me that everybody needs a hug once in a while.
And we're pretty like Persians. We're pretty huggy, mwah, mwah people. So I can totally see that. For me, off or on, like if I do like you, and if you like check the box that I'm very physically affectionate, but other than that, I'm like, but it's people think, oh, you're on OnlyFans, so you're personal. And it's not like I have a moral opposition to it. It's just like, I'm not somebody, like, I don't do like hookup culture, anything like that. Not because I think it's probably fun. I think it's boring, but like that makes me uncomfortable, but the whole world seeing my tits doesn't make me uncomfortable.
That is so weird to me. I mean, like, please don't be offended by anything that I say when I say you're weird.
No.
Like, it's just like, it's fascinating weird, like the good kind of weird, like the, oh my God, you're like kind of my sister, but like the opposite. Sister, you know, like
my sister's like you. I have
really? You have a sister?
Yeah, she doesn't even have social media. She's pretty reserved, and I was always like the wild one. Like, even with her, like if our parents weren't home, I'm just walking around naked. And I'll just walk by her, like, and she's like, I've seen your naked body more than I've seen like my own hand. Like, it's,
oh my God. Is she younger or is she older?
2 years younger.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So she's like my older sister.
Hanum Bakil.
Oh, really?
But she's like the normal, like she's like a real lawyer guy.
So she's okay. So how did she take it when you were like, you know what, I'm leaving the lawyer business behind for better futures?
Okay, we have to understand, like we grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Like, I mean, you grew up in Canada too. So she obviously grew up with the same kind of upbringing I did, where it's like we have our parents, but then we have school, and we were both like academia people, so academia leans left. So she wasn't going to be like, oh, how could you this terrible, horrible, shameful, like she wasn't going to give me that response. She was just like, okay, she was just trying to minimize the damage with my parents. Like, okay, well, like that's fine, but like at least still do just do both. Like she was always like the peacemaker.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so she like definitely played that role where she wasn't like, oh no, don't do OnlyFans, but she was just like, okay, can we like minimize the fucking damage to our somehow? Like, can you not like,
oh my God,
completely throw away the law? Like, can you keep one foot in, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, totally. Do you only have like the one sister, or do you have any other siblings?
That's my only sibling.
Okay, because I was gonna be like, do you have brothers, like older brothers? No. That would be like, what are you doing? I
always wonder, maybe if I did, how like different things would be, but I only have one younger sister, and so I was always like the dominant one, and she's more passive. So I never had like a sibling that like, it was like, what are you doing? You know? So
yeah, that's fascinating too, because I'm a single kid.
Okay.
But my mom and dad, before I was born, they had a son, but my brother passed away when he was like 2 years old before I was born.
Okay.
And it's really weird when I think about that, because like medical advancement is like so much now that if he was born today, he would have survived. But because
Was
he
this
was,
in Iran?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was. But like, I always wonder, like the alternate reality, like what it would have been like if he was alive, or like if I did have
Yeah.
an older brother, like what kind of person I would be.
They always say like your sibling order has like a huge effect on personality sometimes. So
And that was like a weird thing too, because in Iran, for example, like the culture. So I remember like my mom was like my family didn't want my mom to tell me that I had a brother, but my mom refused. So she like always told me, like from when I was like really, really young, like from when I was basically like the moment as far as I can remember, like there was always a picture of him, and I knew that he like existed, but he like, had passed away, and my mom had told me. And I'm really glad she did, because I feel like it kind of gave me a better sense of like, what life is and death and, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it damaged me as a child. I think it was
and then
helpful.
you trust the parent to be honest with you when and I think that's a huge thing.
It is a huge thing. And it's so weird to like talk to someone who kind of understands that culturally, because usually my guests are not Persian.
Yeah.
You're the first Persian person that I've met online. Like
I've actually had some Persian people that I had one guy who literally had like no sexual interest in me, but he like paid to do like a video call with me, and he's just Persian. He's like same thing as you. Like there's so many Persian people that are just fascinated with what I do. And even like when I always look at top cities and like my Instagram analytics, like Tehran is always up there. Like
really?
Yeah. Like
that's funny.
Tehran, like New York, LA. And I'm like, okay.
Because you would think that they're like, because the government's like, cracking down on porn and all that stuff. Like, so like, but they're still finding a way around it and being like,
they're still finding a way around it and not even having to use VPN, at least on Instagram, because it'll tell me like that city. So I'm like, I think every Persian kid knows that what I did is so insane. So I feel like you guys are all like fascinated.
That I know, it's totally like that, because I told you this before, and I'm going to say it again on my show, but like when you were on Anna's show, I think it was the Jack show you were on, and Captain Chokeout very inappropriately, I might add, super chatted and was like, what does your dad think of this? And you were like, he was kind of disappointed. And I was like, my face just went like, oh, that poor dad. I could just totally picture it.
Poor dad. Bubba.
I know.
We're really close too, like still. But yeah, I think he's changed the narrative. Like I think now he just thinks I'm like a podcaster or something, or he tells himself that.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Did you ever think like maybe I'll buy him a BMW and then be like, hey, like this is with my podcasting money?
I do think that because of the amount of money I've made, like he's like, for instance, he knew before I had quit my lawyer job. And I remember I was mortified about when I wanted to actually quit my job because I'm so close with him. So I told my mom, because I don't give a fuck if I piss off my mom. I'm like, I'm quitting my job. And she's like, I think that's a dumb idea. And then I just didn't want my dad to know. And so I was like, and then my sister was like, oh, mom said it in the car because she thought he already knew. And I was like, shit, what the fuck? And she was like, he didn't say anything. He like didn't care. And he didn't say anything to me. He was just like, oh, because I was like, the way mom was, she says, oh, she's making way more money doing this. And she says she's losing money by being at work. And I think like that to my dad was like, yeah, it makes sense. Like,
oh my God, like, Persian dad thing.
You have broken down this man if that's his reaction.
Oh, your poor Bubba. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Actually, okay, because you just touched on a question I wanted to ask you, which was that, okay, because you were a lawyer, a lawyer. And like, did you ever work on cases? Like, what kind of cases did you work on? Trial cases? What kind of lawyer were you?
Yeah. So, my mom's a lawyer. She, and I worked like growing up, I kind of worked alongside her, and she did estate planning. And then, so I did estate planning when I graduated, and I passed the bar, got licensed. And for like 7 months, I worked in an estate planning firm. So we did like estate plans. We also did guardianships, conservatorships, elder law, and special needs law.
Oh, wow. So like kind of like boring stuff. Like it wasn't like criminal law.
Yeah, boring stuff, but the stuff that you can go home at like 5-ish, which is what I wanted.
Sure.
Okay, where there's no like really intense deadlines. Like one thing I knew was I didn't want to do litigation or anything because I didn't even want to be a lawyer, much less a stressed out lawyer. So I was like, I'm gonna avoid like the harder, I wouldn't say harder, but the more stressful, like deadline.
What did you want to be?
Nothing. I wanted to just I remember when people said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" When I was a kid, I used to say, "I just want to own the mall." And
Oh, that's funny.
Literally the vibe.
Like the mall or like bazaar?
The mall.
Okay. All right.
I was
All
like,
right.
I thought that was a job. I was like, I just want to like own shit. Like that.
Own the
That was
mall.
what I wanted. I've always been interested in psychology. So that was the other thing I was going to maybe do, like go get my PhD in psych. But I thought lawyer would be easier, like in less school, which it was. But I always loved learning. I love school. I love learning, but I don't like working. Like I don't want to work a 9 to 5. And so
I understand. I've never liked working either. It's not been a
people like think I'm insane when which is crazy because like, you know, I get so much hate on the internet for saying like basic shit that most of us would agree with. Like, oh yeah, I want to do this because I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. And people are like, how dare you? And you're supposed to work a 9 to 5. And I'm like, you wouldn't want to work one probably either if you didn't.
The funny part is like, I was always like, well, not only do I not want to work a 9 to 5, I want to be a stay-at-home wife. Like, I don't mind like being the wife and cook and clean and, you know, like whatever. Like, I really don't care. Like it was, and for my mom, that was like alien because she was like hardcore, like feminist, like, you know, from Iran, like, you know, because she was like,
my mom's like that too. I mean, she's a lawyer.
Exactly. So she was like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like at first, I mean, then she came to accept it, obviously, because she understands like classic feminism is about choice. And like, you know, that's what, you know, it is what it is kind of thing. But it was just really fascinating that I grew up that way. My mom was like the complete opposite. Like she was always like, no, you gotta get a job and you gotta go to school and like this and that.
Trust me, my mom did not want this path for me either. And this was the complete opposite of what she also had in mind.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, both of my parents were always like, they wanted me to be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, like, you know, and then marry one too.
Oh my God, and marry one.
Path, and my mom was at all the Mehunis, like both of my daughters are lawyers, yay. And then I was like, never mind.
Does she still say that at the parties?
I think I've humbled her. Okay, I only think I've humbled her because another person in the Persian community where my parents live, one of their kids that I knew since I was a kid is lesbian. And my sister was saying that mom actually, of all people, was like, well, if our kids are lesbian, then they're lesbian. And I was like, I did this because she now has like gone so low that she's like defending the LGBTQ because at least they're not porn stars.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I love that for my mom because I hate that part of Iranian culture. Like where, you know, like I remember every time when someone would come into her firm, she's like, yeah, my daughter, she got accepted to like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, mom, who cares? Like, it's like their self-worth is based, like, it's like, you're like an extension of them. And I didn't like that. So I was like,
well, we have a braggy culture. Like, it's really about like your achievements and like, you know, what the kids do reflects on you. And it's like, it's very like that. It's interesting to me because like my mom is a little bit like different because my mom is really liberal. So she was always like, you know, pro LGBT and like, especially even in Iran, like she was like, you know, like they have rights, they should have rights, they're human beings, like, you know, like all that kind of stuff. Right. And then, but when she came to Canada and like, you know, as she got older and everything like that. And I went more conservative because I was very liberal and I became conservative as like time went by. She was like, you know, she was having a hard time with it a little bit, like during the Trump era. Cause I was like, yeah, Trump, like, and she was like, yeah. She was like, what do you mean? Yes, Trump, like, you know, and it was just, you know, we had a little moment and then, you know, the pandemic hit and then Canada started to turn a lot. Like it just started to change and change and change. And she was like, oh my God, like I'm starting to kind of see what you were talking about when it comes to Canada because they're taking this like kind of liberalism to this like really the opposite extent. And she's still not like, yay, Trump. Of course not. Never. Like, she hates Trump, but it's at the same time, she's like, I kind of get why you were saying some of the stuff, like, because he was like a little bit more.
Your mom admits she's wrong? That's unique. That's a unique Persian mom trait, let me tell you.
It is. It's
a
very
mom trait. See, my mom's liberal, but like the anti-Trump, but like kind of like the CNN-y anti-Trump. So then the like left, and according to her, what goes like, but not for the same reasons as your mom. Like, she's like, what do you mean pronouns? Like, that to her is like.
Yeah, and that was the same thing with my mom. Like, when I started to tell her about like pronouns and stuff like that, like, she didn't even know. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the ones that have like blue hair, like, I'm sure you're going to see them more and more. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she started to kind of like notice them everywhere. And she was like, I'm starting to notice a lot more blue hair people around and like pink hair people. And now they're getting all in my business about calling them the right pronoun and saying like, you might go to prison if you don't call me the right pronoun, kind of thing. Like, so I'm starting to be like, what? So
would your mom be like is she like a pro sex work feminist, or is she a little bit of that like old school, like anti? Like,
I don't know. That's a good question. I bet you she's watching the show. I can tell you that.
Give us a chat.
I'm going to like tell her, I'm going to after tomorrow, when I talk to her, I'm going to ask her like, what did you think? And I'm going to guess that I think she's pro. Because I think she's like she's pro the woman choosing whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that, and for her, she'll be like, I can't believe a woman would choose to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, good for her. Like,
yeah. Okay. Not like my mom. My mom's just severely anti this, which I think most Persian moms are.
Yeah. I'll be surprised.
The good ones, and you went conservative. Okay.
I know. It's
you know how many of us would have killed for that, and then you just throw it all away. You're actually the one that I need to that's done something crazier than me.
Yeah, going conservative. I know. Well, what's so weird is like, the thing is like, I wouldn't even say I'm full conservative because everybody calls me like Rip. Oh my God, she just texted me. She goes, I'm more like, I am still liberal, like at heart. Like I love the gays, like I was always have been pro gay marriage or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of liberal things that I'm part of. Now I'm anti-marriage, just generally speaking, like in terms of like, even for heterosexuals, I'm like, do we really need the government in our business? Because I realize it's not even that I'm like conservative like that. It's more that I'm more libertarian. Like, I just don't like the government in our business. And I think that's why I tend to lean a little bit more right than left. And I feel like nowadays just the left has just become so insane that
you're like libertarian right instead of like authoritative right. So you don't want to like ban porn and
hell no. No. You do you. Like, I'm more like, leave me alone. As long as people leave me alone, they can do whatever they want to do with their lives. As long as it's not hurting other people, then go for it, And like for example, a lot of people were like, a couple months back, they're like, let's ban TikTok. And I'm like, really? Like, you guys want to ban TikTok? Like, I mean, I know that, yes, it's doing some damage, of course, but at the same time, it's also not doing it's doing certain good things too. Like, for example, I do a show called Infinite Hope on Fridays where I try to balance out the craziness that I constantly talk about. And I just focus on good news. And one of the things that TikTok did was there's like this trend that TikTok started where people go and, talk to Walmart greeters, especially like older Walmart people. And then they start like GoFundMes and they put it on TikTok, and then the GoFundMe reaches its goal because of the influence that TikTok has. And so they basically get these old people to retire based on just TikTok. And there's just a lot of things that TikTok also has that's good things. So I always feel like, well, yes, there's bad, but there's also good. So you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah,
you know?
I get what you're saying. The craziest argument for me during that whole thing where people are like, they're not showing this content in China. In China, they're censoring it. I'm like, do you want that? Like, I'm so
Yeah.
like people are like, oh, TikTok's ruining things. And in China, they don't even allow this. I'm like, so that's what you want, to have a government that's completely just controlling what information. I'm not saying our government does do that to some extent, but yeah, people like titties. And so it's not, it's not that they're shoving titties down our throats. It's that people just like titties. So they keep watching titties, and China comes in with their people and is like, you can't do this. You can't see this. And that's not what you would want if you're pro freedom.
Exactly. And that's kind of like where I've always been. And that's where I always fall to, because of Iran, actually, because I know what censorship and true censorship is like. So I'm always like, for example, when even, the right is like, we need to ban books, or like whenever, like, I'm like, ban books, I've heard this before, or there's just certain things where I'm like, yeah, I don't think like, 6-year-olds should be learning about sex, but in school, but banning a book or something like that from society, I don't feel like that's the right move either, like, because it just stigmatizes things, and I feel like when there's stigma, then that's when you have a problem.
Exactly. And like you said, you're very well aware that it doesn't usually end where they say it's going to start. So that's what this whole, okay, we have to just remove this one book showing 6-year-olds blowjob. It's like, okay. And then now they're banning like all the way to 12th grade and like Diary of Anne Frank. And you're like, wait, whoa.
Like, I mean, and it started like, again, mostly it actually kind of starts with the left. Because the left was like, we need to ban, like, oh, that's okay. Like the ban, like they were like, oh, we need to ban like for To Kill a Mockingbird because it says the N-word, or like Tom Sawyer, or like this and that, the other, like, and I was like, no, book banning and book burnings are, that's not good. Like that is not where the West should even go that way. So I just
fully there with you.
That makes me kind of like question things sometimes. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the right makes me question a lot of things sometimes, because they just happen to have like this kind of, they go back and forth with how they want to play things, and then they use leftist tactics to do certain things, and I'm always like,
well, yeah, you always know, like when the right is pro free speech, but because when the left has the power, but never know, like, I'm sure, especially with like some segments of the right, like let's say the Daily Wire, if they had control over these platforms, they would probably be censoring just as hard the other way around. But because they're not in the position of power, they're like, oh, can't believe this. But, on other platforms, and when they do have the power, you don't know. Because a lot of us, when we get power, we take advantage of it.
Exactly.
So it's difficult to know how someone would be until they are in that position.
Absolutely. Let me get a couple of these super chats real quick. Thank you, Kate to the Swiss, for the $5. Says, Nina, you're probably the most accurate IRL Jazmn I've ever seen. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear.
They didn't even get us like the one that played in the live action movie, which sucked. Like,
oh my God. Did you see the live action? I didn't see it.
I wouldn't recommend it unless you want to laugh.
Oh no. My husband was like, she's not that great looking. Like I showed her picture to him because we didn't watch it either. And he was like, she's not that great looking. And
she wasn't Middle Eastern looking enough. That's the thing that like bothered me. And then they just had the dad was just like, Jasmine. Like, it was so
oh no.
We were all like, because I went with like some Persian friends, so we're just like laughing.
Well, the craziest thing was like, I would have gone to see it because I thought they casted Aladdin pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
I was like the only, and I thought Jafar was casted pretty well too. I was like, that's pretty good. And the sets look great. I was like, okay, this actually doesn't look too bad. And I'm down on Disney, Jazmn. Like, I'm not a Disney fan anymore. I used to love Disney, but Disney is kind of, and that's going to be a topic. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But like, I'm not a fan anymore because I feel like they've just constantly ruined so many of the things that I love, in recent years. But then, when they announced a lot in live action, I was like, okay, I'm kind of tempted. And then I saw fucking
Bollywood, though, don't you?
They did.
Yeah.
Oh no,
they made it very Bollywood, which is not us. They
But
were like,
then-
okay, we're just gonna mix all this culture and this whole region and it's
all
like,
the browns, all the browns.
This is your one brown movie, okay?
This is your brown movie. Yeah, but that was the thing, is like, I saw Will Smith as the genie and I was like, no, I'm out. Like, no, it's just, I can't do Will Smith as the genie. It just didn't.
He was singing and shit too. It was so bad. The soundtrack, horrible.
Oh my God. I was like, no. And it just, the CG looked so bad on him, and like them like juxtapositioning. And I was like, I can't go from seeing like and hearing Robin Williams's voice to like Will Smith, and he's like a fucking weird looking blue genie. I was like, I can't do this.
It was like Will Smith singing and then this like Punjabi looking dances. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, okay.
Oh no. Oh my God. I'm so out on Disney, man. It's been rough. Russell Hall for 2 says, thanks for reaching out to Cecil. Sorry, he's an idiot. No problem, Russell. Anytime. I will help him when he reaches back out. Push-ups, thanks for the $5, says, Jazmn, if you found a magic lantern, what would be your 3 wishes? That's a good question.
I can't wish for more wishes, I'm assuming.
You remember the rules of the genie. You can't wish for more wishes, and you can't make anyone fall in love with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want the second one. I mean, like, I feel like what we're all searching for in life is to have as much positive conscious experience and happiness as possible. But then if you go too far in that, it's like you never know what the right balance is. So I guess I would wish to have that right balance, to have as good of a life as possible. And then I don't know I guess the other 2 would be to make the rest of the world in whatever kind of, however much I could improve the world, I want to improve the world. It's just hard to know exactly how to do that, right?
It's weird because you got
everything gets fucked up.
Yeah, because you got to like think of the right words to say, because it's kind of like the monkey's paw effect, because you don't want to say the wrong thing and then have that like your wish be actually like the cause of the end of the world.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm scared of. Like if I said solve world hunger, but like what if that like is a domino effect? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's always one of those things that you're like, right? Like it's like the nature documentaries where they're filming and you're watching like an elephant starving. You're like, why don't you feed it? But it's like, we can't, because if we fuck with this, it could set off a chain.
The natural balance of things. That's why they tell you not to feed wild animals, because
exactly. So with my genie, I want to like respect that. Like I want to not like I want to like watch the nature documentary, but not intervene if it's gonna fuck shit up. So I guess I'd have to word my answer to like, okay, I want to fix it but not fuck it up. Can I do that?
Yeah, totally. It's difficult to think about that. I'm like, I'm thinking about like what kind of wishes I want to, and I'm like, I'm thinking about world peace and stuff like that too. But it's so funny because like I was watching the Simpsons Halloween special, and it was like when they had the monkey's paw, and then Lisa wished for world peace. And then all of a sudden the aliens came down and everyone had gotten rid of their weapons, so they couldn't defend themselves from like alien enslavement. So I'm like, maybe I don't want to disarm the planet, because like, what if we do get an alien invasion?
There's
and we
always
need
a what if, right? I'm like,
Right?
there is so much suffering in this world. Like I want to just eliminate it. But then, like I said, I'm like, what if that throws it all off balance and then it's worse or something?
Then it's worse.
Like, I mean, like as we've gone farther up, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right now we're seeing like when people aren't worried about how to get food and shelter, then they get depressed. So it's
right. Yeah, see, like I'm trying to think like, how can I make a wish where the human species, I don't know, starts like intergalactic, like I want to go to space, but it like, I want humans to go to space and do it. But then if you get it as a wish and you don't earn it, then you get in trouble, because what if we go to space and we're not ready for what we're gonna find because we didn't get there ourselves? You know what I mean? Like you gotta do the natural progression, because if you don't and you have things handed to you, that's a problem. Look at our society, people. Like we're handing things down to the new generation, and it's causing problems. I feel like nobody knows how to do anything anymore.
There's this question I've been thinking about. I don't know where I heard it, but like if you could if we could, I guess, genetically modify or manufacture new people to have at least an average IQ, should we do it? And like, I want to say yes, but then I'm like, there's probably something I'm missing.
Dude, that would be like such an idiocracy thing. Like, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
I've seen clips.
Oh my God. Girl, you got to watch it. It's so good.
I know. I did watch the South Park thing right when you said that.
You did? Oh,
yes.
great.
I really got a massage really high. It was the best thing ever. And I was like, hopefully this gummy like goes away a little bit before. And I was like, here, I'll just watch South Park.
Amazing. Okay, so then you know what I was talking about, because I'm like, you know how like in South Park in this new episode, Stan's dad was like, we don't know how to do anything anymore. We need to call like the guy to come fix the oven. Because like I feel like that is what society's become, like, right? It's become like this kind of like we just like, everyone's handing everything down to other people because they don't know what to do. Most people went to college, and then college was a complete letdown. And especially in the new economy, it's like most people, even people like yourself, like lawyers that are, have gone to school and doing different things, are like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do OnlyFans.
A perfect example of what you're saying, even when it comes to, except like, since I make good money, I'm able, like, I don't know how to do fucking anything because my Baba did it for me. And then I moved, and then I just started making, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to delegate literally every single, because I don't know how to do it. And so, but then there's part of me that like, when people are like, oh, we don't know how to do things anymore, I'm like, who cares? Like, I don't need to really learn how to clean. Like, I don't need to learn. Like, it's fine. If I go
why do I need to know how to wash dishes?
Something in my life, like, it's okay.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Okay, let me get a couple more of these, and then we're gonna go into the topic, because that's great. The boxing historian, thank you for the $5. So salute, beautiful. More ratioing? What? For of Disney ratioing.
Rationing.
I was like rationing. No, ratioing of Disney by former employees like Gina Carano or others are needed for destroying Star Wars and Marvel comics. I agree with you. Gina's been going on one, and we're gonna talk about that.
I mean, if you saw the Jack show, I somehow like got into this crowd through Anna, but then like I don't know any of it. I watched
That's okay.
Marvel, nothing.
That's okay, because I'm actually really fascinated with your point of view as a normie. Okay. Because we're not like, because I'm in this space and I know a lot too much. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anymore, but
I can definitely give you the normie perspective on this.
Yes, I would love to hear the normie perspective, and that's why I'm so glad you watched the episode, because we can kind of talk about it and kind of like, and then I can get your perspective on what's going on, because the normie perspective is needed. Because a lot of people in this space don't seem to understand why it is that Disney keeps making money. Like, you went to the Aladdin movie, right? Like did you go to the theater?
Yeah.
See, like normies still go to Disney movies.
I'm going to go to Wish in the end of the month. I feel like it looks cute. Why not?
There you go. So like, I want to get that perspective, because a lot of people don't seem to understand that normies don't care as much as we do over here. And I think that's a good perspective.
Yeah, literally, I see the commercial. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Raiders here. Thank you for the $50 drive-by. Just give me a little dragon emoji. Thank you so much, Raider. You're so generous. I appreciate you, man. And then okay, so that was actually a good start to this topic. So let's start it. So do you know who Gina Carano is?
No.
Okay, so Gina Carano is this very lovely young woman. She used to be on the UFC. Now the chat's gonna be all like, on me when I mess up all the story that I'm trying to tell you. But so Gina, she used to be in the UFC. She's very popular, and then she got cast in the new Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, a few years ago. And are you even at all even a little bit familiar with Star Wars or anything about it?
No, I literally went to Disney and I went on that Rise of the Resistance, right? And I didn't I was like, are we good? Are we bad? Like, what's happened? Like, what are these white things? Like, I'm literally at that point.
Okay, so you've never seen any of them.
None of them. No.
Okay. So basically what happened is, I'm going to give you like a very just
because your chat's going to give me otherwise. So just give me a quick run.
just a brief lowdown. There used to be a trilogy called Star Wars. Those are the 70s. They came out a long time ago. Then George Lucas was the person in charge of that. He then also made prequels to that series, which is 1, 2, and 3. Those are 3, 4, 5, 6. Then a few years later, he sold Star Wars, the property, the whole thing, to Disney. Okay. So after Disney took it over, they started to take liberties with Star Wars, and they started to make their own movies. And we didn't like those movies. A lot of the old school fans were like, you're making decisions in Star Wars that are not supposed to be that way. And one of the people who spearheaded that is Kathleen Kennedy, who was like the major person that they were talking about in the South Park episode. Okay. Kathleen Kennedy's gonna get me. That woman is the one.
I didn't get that reference, and now I do.
Right. That woman is the one that kind of ruined Star Wars, like her and Bob Iger, who's the CEO. Bob Iger is the dude, the dude that was trying to stop her or whatever. He's the dude. She's Kathleen Kennedy's the head of Lucasfilm. So she now, she's been going on this thing like forever where she's like, the Force is female. Like she's like basically tried to make Star Wars into like this.
So the first 6 were good.
Yes.
And then now how much everything after that,
everything after that is garbage. Especially this movie called The Last Jedi, which is when a lot of people were like, okay, we're done, including me. Like I was like, I'm done with Star Wars after The Last Jedi. That was the technically third Disney movie that came out, because first was Rogue One, then it was like another one that was the first one of the thing. I don't want to confuse you too much. This is all nerd shit. But basically,
I've heard this before. I've been friends with a nerd or two. So far, this part of the story I knew. I know you guys are mad.
Yeah, we're mad. We're big mad, okay? And one of the people who is really big mad about it was Anna, the girl that you met. Mm-hmm. She made her Star Wars channel, that Star Wars girl. She made her channel based on the fact that she hated The Last Jedi. She was like, I hate The Last Jedi. Fuck Disney. Fuck what they did to Star Wars. Fuck you guys. And that's how she kind of got into this space.
Cool, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's great. I love her.
Okay, well, see, this is the thing. When I don't care, I can just be on your team now. Fuck whoever.
Yeah. Fuck Disney. Fuck Disney. There you go, Jazmen.
Yeah. Tell me who to cheer for. I don't have a dog in this fight, so I'm gonna just whatever you say.
Perfect. I love it. So then, after a little while, this other gentleman by the name of Jon Favreau came into the picture. Okay. And I don't know if you know Jon Favreau. He made the movie Elf. Have you ever heard of the movie Elf?
I've heard of the movie Elf.
Okay. So he's like a comedian. He came into the picture and he was like, I'm gonna fix Star Wars. Like he was like, I'm gonna try and fix it because I know you guys hate it so much now. I'm gonna try and fix it. And one of the first
timeline wise, when did you start hating it? Like what year?
When The Last Jedi came out. When was that? Let's see. The Last Jedi came out. God, I hate The Last Jedi so much. 2017.
Okay, so 2017 is when this culture started.
Yes, like this, and then like it became this thing. It was called the Phantom Menace. Like it was like this whole thing started where everyone was just like, "We fucking hate you." This whole thing started for Star Wars specifically.
Okay, got it.
But then because as time went on, and then Disney acquired Marvel, and they started making Marvel movies, and then after a long time. Marvel, after Endgame, Marvel also started to switch because they started to basically make every single superhero male that they had into female. And that's what the South Park movie was making fun of. Put a chick in it and make it gay. Because it was every single movie now has to have a woman and usually they're gay. Literally every single movie. That's why my friend Gary from Nerdrotic has coined the term MSHU instead of MCU because every woman is just I'm better than every guy. And that's their whole thing now.
Okay.
So all the Marvel movies are fucking lame now too. Cause it's all all the women are the bestest ever. And all the men are pieces of shit that are basically.
And are you guys, is this little online movement, have you guys been successful in your outrage at all? Or
well, I believe we are, and that's where we're at today because the thing is it came out with the South Park episode came out and was basically saying the same thing we've been saying forever. And today, Variety dropped this banger of an article, which basically writes that crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors backup plans, the Marvel's reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues released. Some of the other issues released were that, for example, the new Blade movie they were working on, they're just scrapping and they're going back to the drawing board because they realized that like Mahershala Ali wanted to walk away from the movie because he wasn't even the main character in his own movie. So there's just been a lot of different things that have, because we've been talking about it for so long, that they're finally being like, oh, what the fuck's going on? But not just that they're listening to us, they're seeing with their numbers. Because I know you're a numbers girl. Like, you know, you're into statistics and you're into like making money.
Yeah.
So you know what happens when it hits you in the pocketbook. And they're just been coming after, like, there's just been flop after flop after flop. And once you get a certain amount of flops, you're like, wait a minute. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, to give a little normie, I feel like this kind of stuff is for the fans. Like when Disney does those remakes, it's stuff we all watch. It's not just like you guys. And I'm not saying you guys are like super fans, it seems. But this kind of stuff, I wasn't their audience. So I wasn't going to any of these movies at all in the past.
Sure.
Neither were you guys. So they at least want you guys back.
Yeah, they're like, what happened to our fans? Like the people who like Marvel. You know, I kept up with Marvel a lot longer than I did with Star Wars. And in Star Wars, I was personally offended. So I was like, I'm out. Like, you guys, you know. But with Marvel, I kept up because I liked superhero movies. Like I was like, I like superheroes and I'm gonna keep watching it. And I wasn't really ever into like the comic book side. I was always into like the visual medium of like, you know, animated or movies. And I was just like, I'm gonna keep up with Marvel because Marvel's fun. But then it just started becoming less fun, and it was more about, you know, the message and the political messaging that they're trying to push, the propaganda that they're trying to push, rather than creating good stories, rather than creating good characters. And it just started to become really glaring. And I guess that's my question to you as a normie. Like, forget Marvel and forget, you know, Star Wars and all the stuff. As a normie, do you see like the woke like entertainment? Do you have you picked up on anything, like, or do you?
Yes, but to me it goes like woke, and then you guys come up, and then you guys all look crazy. So it's like it's like the Little Mermaid. Like I'm the normie, like, oh, the Little Mermaid, okay, that's kind of weird, whatever. But then you guys like, ah! And then I'm like, okay, I just don't understand. It's not this big of a deal, but I get like if you're like a diehard. But that's the thing. A lot of people that were really mad, I weren't even diehard fans of the Little Mermaid. It's grown ass men. But like if it's like something like this, it's like super, you know, then I get it. But for me, I think like the woke, like they do the woke, but then the anti-woke comes in, and then there's like whole subcultures that are just dedicated to being anti that. And then that to me is not very, it's kind of intellectually lazy too.
Sure.
That's how I see it.
Sure. And the South Park episode kind of touched on that at near the end when they were like, well, like, I mean, if you keep doing like anti-woke stuff, that's lame too. Like that's boring too. And I agree with that, because I think there has to be kind of like some nuance in it, even though I see the woke so glaringly. I can understand why some people wouldn't. And like, you know, there has to be some sort of nuance, I feel, at play. But going back to telling you the story about Gina Carano. So what happened was this Jon Favreau person came in, excuse me, to the picture. I was like, let me try and rein this in. And let me see if I can, you know, if I can fix Star Wars. And he came out with this show called The Mandalorian. And you don't necessarily need to know what the story was, but he casted Gina Carano in this show. And it went for a couple seasons, and it was apparently very well received. I didn't watch it because I was still like, fuck you, Disney. I'm not watching your shit. Right. And I was like, if like people like Anna tell me, go back, girl, go back and watch it, then I will. And at first they started to kind of say that, like in the first season, they were like, yeah, it's so good. Go back and watch it. And in the second season too, like they were like, yeah, go back and watch it. So good. And I was like, no, I'll still wait. And then literally like after the season 2 came out, a few months later, Gina Carano got like completely canceled by Disney. She got her contract basically not renewed because she didn't have a contract with them at the time. But for all intents and purposes, she got fired from Disney. And the reason for that was a few fold. So she was never really like into let's just say because she's more conservative, like she's definitely a Republican. And you know how in Hollywood, that was totally not. That was
I'm like,
not.
is this your lingo in this?
That was pun not intended. What? I don't know why I said Hollywood. In Hollywood, they hey, I just coined a good term.
Yeah,
Hollywood. That was good.
Like something you guys use. Like I thought that was lingo in this community. Like
it is now. But like in Hollywood, it's it was like it's like an unsaid thing. Like even if you're a Republican, like you don't tell people you're a Republican because like everybody is a lefty over there. So you're like, no, this, you hide it, right? But so she came up against kind of like this thing because everybody kind of knew she was Republican, and she would say stuff online that a lot of people didn't like. So at first it started with she started questioning the mask mandates, and people were like, oh my God, like, Gina Carano doesn't like the mask mandates. Like, you got to follow that. Like, because, people were freaking out about that. Then, so that was like her first mini canceling. Then people were like, oh my God, you need to put pronouns in your bio because at that time, like there was a huge movement on Twitter to like put pronouns in your bio and like to make it so that it, I don't know, for whatever reason, to like show solidarity with the pronoun crowd. And a lot of us were like, no, like I never did that. I was like, no. But apparently Gina was constantly bugged about it.
Okay.
So instead of doing it, she was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But so instead of doing it, she kind of made fun. And I was like, I'll just put beep, bop, boop as my pronouns. So they got really mad. They were like,
who's they? Because so what percentage of this community, the fandom or whatever, is like you guys? And then do you have like a super lefty pronoun-y segment of it, and then how, like, what is the breakdown here of like
they are mostly like basically the Twitter left, like all the crazy pronoun people, like anyone you click and there's pronouns in the bio, like those kind of people. They're like usually the pink hairs, the blue hairs,
But do you guys have like a portion of that in the fan base of this kind of stuff?
No, they're usually the anti.
Okay.
Like, of the other side of us. They're like the opposite side of us. So those people are like, basically Twitter.
Okay.
Like
I'm thinking if your fan base and you guys are all not like this, then why would was she getting that pressure uniquely? I'm wondering where that came from. Like I'm wondering
she was getting that like on Twitter and from basically like Disney, basically. You need to do this, like you need to be more, nice on whatever. Politically correct. And so she was like, I'm going to do beep bop boop as a joke. And then, people can't joke around anymore. That they took that the wrong way. And so then last but not least, she got canceled for this tweet, which I still have a picture of. I believe here it is. This is the picture that she got canned for. This is actually an Instagram screenshot of her story, where she was like comparing, what was happening with the Republicans. Because this was at the time, this was the whole, I think this was, I don't know if it was before or after the elections. Okay. It was right around that time.
But it's not like now, because obviously now this has a completely different context.
Oh yeah. This is why she got canceled the first time.
Okay. So this is not about what's going on.
This is why she lost.
My mind automatically goes with what's happening in Israel and Palestine.
No. Which is funny, right? Because this is kind of like, like it kind of leads into the now, but not really, like not at all.
It takes away the context here is different. Okay.
Yeah. So
it changes the message.
Yeah, and she was basically saying this with regards to, I think, the election and also like the mask mandates and like things like that, because a lot of people were becoming very ostracized from society just for taking certain stances, like for being MAGA or for being, anti-mask and anti-jab and blah, blah, blah. They were being ostracized. And so she was like, hey, like there was a reason that, World War II started being the way it was. It started with your neighbors kind of thing. And it was actually a very, a post that was, first of all, she didn't even write that. That was a picture that she shared. And also Auschwitz put out a very similar tweet to this like months later, but everybody was like, wait, Gina Carano got fired for that.
The museum now?
Auschwitz, like the Holocaust Museum put out a very similar tweet, and everybody was like, isn't that what Gina got fired for? But anyway,
so fired for that.
She got fired for this tweet. This not even tweet, this Instagram story share, which was the weirdest thing. So then they were like, we're not renewing your contract. You're out, Gina. Like you're fired. And then she went right after that. She went on to, and they had plans for her because she was such a successful character. So Jon Favreau, the guy that had hired her to do this, he had plans for her to make a show just for her and her character. There was like all these different plans, and Star Wars was starting to become better. And then Gina got fired. And the person that everybody thinks the reason that she got fired was because of Kathleen Kennedy, and because Kathleen Kennedy didn't like her. And just they were politically very different, and just she was looking for like any excuse to fire this girl, basically. And she did. So, and then when that happened,
Gina, what year are we in now?
This is chat. When did Gina get fired? I don't know.
And I'm so sorry, chat, that we're going.
No, it's okay. Chat knows all. It's okay. Gina Carano fired from Disney. I think people will know. I think February 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just looking at it on Google, and it says February 2021, after sharing a series of offensive social media posts comparing Google saying compared the U.S. current political divide to Nazi Germany. That's early 2021. There goes the chat. So then, when that happened, so now fast forward to now, okay, or just a little bit after she got fired, she basically went on to do a movie with the Daily Wire, and she had a very, very interesting interview with Ben Shapiro, where she kind of commented on what had happened to her in Disney, and how, for example, they kind of like after the whole beep bop boop thing, it was suggested. Well, and by suggested, I mean basically told like, do this or you're gonna get fired, kind of thing. Like highly suggested for her to like basically go to like some sort of Zoom call with like her and like 40 different members of like LGBTQ, where they can basically sit there and shame her for her actions of not wanting to put pronouns in her bio, and like just basically kind of public shame in their space. She was like, I'm not doing that. Like she was like, I'm not gonna do that to myself. And so that's what she was like saying to Ben Shapiro in that interview. And so just basically a couple of days ago, after the South Park episode was released, she started to come out with some basically like really spicy tweets, like really spicy tweets.
Now I'm like invested.
Yeah, I'm invested because she's freaking awesome, and she was wronged, man. She was wronged. But so she came out with this tweet originally at first, responding to this clip of Kathleen Kennedy and like the whole thing with the South Park, and she was like, this is the part where Kathleen Kennedy, KK is Kathleen Kennedy, demands any YouTubers get censored off of YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option. And this, by the way, you know how like YouTube doesn't have a thumbs down option anymore? It was because of her, because now we know it's because of her, because right around the time when they disabled the thing, there was like a video of her where she was reading a teleprompter, and she read the part that says fade in, and it's like famous. We always make fun of her now because we're like fade in, and like because you're not supposed to read that part on the teleprompter, so we just make fun of her. And because of that, like that video got so many thumbs up because people were making fun of her that she literally contacted YouTube and she was like, you need to just get rid of this fucking video. Like get rid of the likes. We don't want to see the ratios anymore. And so they did. They got rid of the dislike because of her. And now that Gina's coming out and kind of like spilling
She
the
has
tea.
that much power?
Yes, she has this much power.
Because I've never heard of this woman. So I'm like, okay.
And she's this vindictive. Like that's the thing, right? Like she's like imagine being one of the most powerful women in all of like LA and all of like Disney or whatever, and then being like, I don't want people talking shit about me online. We need to get rid of the dislike button.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, that's fucking wild.
I feel like if you're doing stuff on, like, even me, I'm like, everyone talks shit about me. Like, I'm here for you to do that. Like,
it's like whatever, as long as we're entertaining you.
Yes.
So she says she'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because of the ratio she'll receive. Then she'll have her publicist schools make sure Variety and Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smear their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb, because this is what they did to her. This is all of these things they did to her. Under her thumb, who would sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm. She'll, she'll activate her online mob to repeat that South Park creators are racist, bigots, transphobes, and demand that South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words that she approves of. And finally, she'll demand the subject themselves to re-education course of 45 people in the LGBT community Zoom call to sit there and listen to how badly they got their feelings hurt all over their boop of a South Park episode. But maybe the jig's just up. And this is basically, she's just talking about like literally like everything she went through. So she's like,
okay,
fuck this bitch. She's like, she's pissed.
And has there been any response from like the other side, or?
There hasn't been any responses, but she wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't done. She was like, you know what?
I'm like, all right, then what?
Yeah. She's like, I'm burning the house down, so I might as well just go all the way.
She doesn't have anything to lose now, right?
No, she has nothing to lose because she doesn't work for Disney anymore.
What does she do now?
Right now, I think she's doing like independent project. Like she did the project with the Daily Wire. I'm not sure what she's currently working on, but I think that she's probably working on some other movie. I think she was also doing another one with like they did some Hunter Biden thing. I forget. I don't know what she's doing now, to be honest.
So now she's just totally went into her. So her personality now is really intertwined with politics. Whereas in the beginning, it was just like little. And then when she got fired, now she's just full on Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire. Okay.
Well, now she's more like, fuck these people. Like, because she's not really political at all, actually. Like, she doesn't talk about voting. She doesn't talk about being a Republican.
I mean, if she did a Hunter Biden laptop thing, I'm going to.
No, I think I might be wrong about that.
Okay,
Chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. Because that was the Daily Wire. And I think the other guy, Lawrence Fox, that did that. I don't know if she was involved with that or not. I think she just like retweeted it, but I don't think she was actually in it. I don't know what she's doing right now, to be completely honest with you. But I know she was doing stuff with the Daily Wire, like, but the movie that she made, like she did make one, and it was called Terror on the Prairie, and it was just like a Western movie.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
like it wasn't like anything to do with politics or anything. It was just a Western movie. I think she just wants to do independent stuff, like not necessarily even just with the Daily Wire. I think she just wants to do just independent movies and not work for Disney. And like, you know, that's the thing is, and that's the thing where I stand, because I feel like she could just as easily be one of those people that's like, well, I want a job with Disney at some point, so I'll just shut my mouth and toe the line until they give me another job, you know? But instead, she's like, you know what? Fuck these people. I'm going to call out the hypocrisy. Yeah. So then like a couple days ago, I think yesterday, actually, she came out with this new tweet where she's calling out Rachel Zegler. Do you know who this girl is?
The one, she's in the news. I know that she's in the new Snow White movie, and then Daily Wire is also. I know that much because I actually do follow politics. I'm low-key a political junkie, but I don't do the nerd shit. So when it intertwines, I learn little pieces.
Yeah. So this girl, she's the new Snow White. and she like basically like kind of like got known in this sphere because she was a total like, I don't know, just a very annoying person. I'm just being very nice, but
Okay.
she's just very annoying. And she was on the picket line for on the SAG-AFTRA thing. And she was like, I better get paid to be in this dress. Like she was just like she's just a really bitchy girl. And she's constantly talking about, like, for example, like to promote Snow White. She's like, our Snow White's gonna be like not about the prince, like the prince is
I
not
did
even gonna be in it, like, you know, that kind of girl, like, you know, she's just like constantly saying that kind of stuff, and people are like, well, we want like a classic Snow White. That's why Daily Wire decided to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
But while she was on the picket line, she was all about, yay, like the actors and, you know, like fuck Disney, right? Like fuck the big companies. But then just a few days ago, she got permission finally. We have interim agreement. Thank you, SAG-AFTRA. So she finally got the agreement to be able to promote her new movie, the Hunger Games movie. It's like the prequel to Hunger Games.
Okay. I was like, Hunger Games been around for a minute.
Yeah, it's like there's a new one coming out that's like supposed to be the prequel to Hunger Games. I don't really care. Like, I'm not really interested in it personally, but I know a lot of people like it. So I don't know. But so Gina came out and was like, what an odd strike this is. Small non-studio productions are having trouble getting waivers, but studios get the interim agreement left and right. Celebrities go from picket line to their promotional tours and red carpets. What happened to that? I better get paid for every hour I stand in the dress talk. Meanwhile, the people who are actually suffering are the crews and actors not part of the studio projects or the in-group to get their waivers granted. The ones whose money will run out quicker. The ones who are having to pick up a second line of work. The ones who will be controlled a whole lot easier once the strike ends, based off of desperation to work. Think that was by accident? Maybe they should have granted waivers for all the non-studio productions. Keep people working and halt all studio productions if they really wanted to make a difference and reach a faster agreement. Who is this strike really intended to hurt again? Better make a deal quick. People are starting to notice. I'm sure it'll be the favor of all the right people, and all the right people will pat themselves on the back on an excellent deal and months of suffering well worth the wait. At least while you're at it, you could throw into the agreement that it will be never again be permitted to allow any production to force inject poison, I mean experimental jabs, into people's bodies in the name of science ever again. You know, because that in itself is what something big enough to have had a huge strike over. The hypocrisy is palpable. The system is rigged and littered with posers. Art is free. Creativity is your rebellion. You don't need permission to do that.
So I do wholeheartedly, I mean, the anti-vax stuff, I'm not anti-vax, so she seems a little crazy there to me. But the fact of, because there are people like this, and I actually have a friend that I constantly get it about this. It's like they are so pro the strike and whatever, but then they keep getting waivers or they keep working. And it's like, what do they call them? Limousine liberals?
I've never heard that. That's funny.
Yeah, limousine liberals. I hate them.
It's like when it's convenient.
Yeah, basically. At least just be like honest. Like I would consider myself on left. I'm not lefty, but I'm obviously very pro-capitalism. I live like a very pro-capitalist life. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, I want a revolution. No, I don't. Like, you know, and that bothers me.
Yeah, no, I get it. And like, I guess like for me, that's where like Gina Carano really stands out, because she's not like that, and she's calling out basically like the truth to power that the lefties like to say. Like, this is like the truth to power for me. Like, I think like, okay, here she is, she's standing up to Disney. They're massive company. They can literally ruin this woman's life, and they did. And she's still not afraid of them. And I think that that's something to be commended. And I like, you know, good for her. Like,
yeah, no, I think what the other Kathleen's doing by being like, getting that waiver, I think that should be called out. So.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I'm just wanting, like, I'm literally sitting there, like, eating popcorn and looking at
How
Gina
do they
Carano's
even,
account.
like, I would feel so much cognitive dissonance. Like, it's so important to me to be, like, consistent, like, philosophically, like, in my actions. And, like, I just don't understand how she, like, do you think they expect that backlash, or do you think they're just oblivious to it? Because from the ones I know, they are kind of, like, they think that they're doing such good, and they want to help as long as it costs them nothing and they have all their comfort. It's like, I don't know how people are just, because that would bother me. Like, I would recognize it and I would have cognitive dissonance. So
I think that they're virtue signalers first and foremost. So I don't think they actually have their own resolve, like the way you and I might. Like, for example, you said, like, the anti-vax thing is like crazy to you. I'm one of those crazy people, Jazmen.
Okay.
Like, not that I take offense to that,
yeah,
but, like, we all have, like, our own, like, thing, like, that we have, like, a set of morals that we like to follow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and it's funny to me too when you said that, because the anti-vax thing, like, it's not that I'm anti-vax per se. Like, I've been vaccinated all my life. Like, I've been vaccines are great. Like, medical shit is great. But when
some people are actually just anti all of it, so it's a
there's a spectrum, but then you can't do this. That's where the nuance comes in, right? And, like, that's why a lot of people were being called, like, labeled these things and being like, like, oh, you're anti-vax, even if you've been vaccinated all your life, and, like, blah blah blah. Just because you don't want this one, then you're anti-vax and you're killing people. Like, so that's where, like, the disconnect comes from. And a lot of people started doing virtue signaling, and they were like, you know what, we're just going to virtue signal. We don't actually really believe in any of the things we're saying, but we're just going to say we are so that we can get the brownie points.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them were like that.
Yeah. And we all, whether they're on our side or not, we respect people who are consistent. For sure. I also think there is a lot of virtue signaling on the left, but then there becomes a reaction to it on the right that just becomes, like I said, that becomes the whole personality. It's anti whatever's over there without thought in it either. So it becomes intellectually lazy on this side, because all you are is a reaction to this.
I see it. And I agree with that. And I think that that's where, like, that's where the middle will fall most of the time, is like, you got to kind of, understand, try and see from both perspectives, and try and kind of, like, find that middle ground. But at this point in time, I think a lot of people are kind of, like, not even wanting to find a middle ground anymore, because everything is just so extreme.
Do
on
you
both
feel
sides.
like that in life or online? Because I think there is still a distinction. I think the online world definitely influences the real world, but the online world, definitely you see the extremes. Whereas if you go to just, like, the grocery store,
right,
in a normal place, like, I think you will find a lot more people in the middle with nuance than, like.
I think it depends on where you are, because I'm in Mexico. So, like, I don't see any of this shit, like, for me, right? Like, I don't like none of this stuff even crosses in Mexico. And Mexicans laugh at, like, weird leftist stuff. Like, for example, the whole Latinx thing. Like, they're like,
that was stupid.
I don't fucking want to be called Latinx. Like, that is not a thing. And they laugh at it. And they call, like, they call the people who do want, like, the Latino people that want that, like, the leftist Latinos, or, like, they call them, like, whitesicans, because they're like, they're not really Mexican, and they're kind of like white, and that's what they do. So it's just like they make fun of that. And so, like, for me, it's different. But when I went to Los Angeles to visit my family, I was like, holy shit, like Twitter is real on in real life. Like, it's like, there's certain things that happen in front of me that I was like, oh my God, like, this thing happened. Like, and usually you think to yourself, Twitter is like not real life, but then you see it.
Like an example.
Oh, when I was flying out of LAX, I saw this woman. I was in a coffee line, turned around because I heard there was a woman behind me, and there was a woman behind her. Okay. So I heard the woman behind her be like, did you just flash the white supremacist signs at me, bitch? And I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? So I turn around, and the other woman's like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. Like, what the what are you talking about? And she's like, you did it. You flashed a white supremacist supremacy sign at me, you fucking bitch, you know what you did. And she's like, whatever. And she just like walks away. And I was like, what was her deal? Like, I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
I go to LA all the time. I've never seen that.
It was wild, girl. Like, I was
Oh
like,
my
holy
God.
shit. Like, I cannot believe this actually happened in front of me. So that was one. And then there was another one where it was like, well, I mean, that was actually at the Chrissy Mayer live show that happened. And it was like literal, like, weird LA crime that just happens right in front of you. And then like this dude just wanted to fight people, and it was just wanted to fight white people. And like, it was just like a whole fucking thing. And I was like, oh my God, like this stuff happens like that you see on the news or like in Twitter, and you're like, this isn't real life, but it happens on depending on where you are. I think.
I guess my question is like prevalence. So like even like the Latinx, it's like Latinx, like I'm a normie. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. But then there comes people like, fuck, that's so stupid. It's so stupid. Let's talk about for 10 hours how it's so stupid. Let's make a YouTube channel about how it's so stupid. Fuck it. And I'm like, is this really like the most pressing issue? Like, is it even what's going on in the universities? I do think it is going on in the universities, but like it's like 20%, and then there's groups that make it like 100%. Like, yes, we should talk about the 20%, but like proportionally, like it's something.
Do you think it's kind of like creating a Streisand effect then? Is that what you're kind of saying? Like because people are just kind of really constantly shining a light on it, it's actually making it worse?
Yes, I do think, it's making both sides, the extremes on both sides, more rampant, because there's like, oh, it's Latinx and it's like the crazies. And I almost think if no one acknowledged them, or all the normies didn't acknowledge them, and you guys didn't acknowledge them, it would kind of just whatever. But then you guys like, no, fuck you. And then they're like, no, fuck you. And then it's like, it becomes like such a huge thing. Like, and when it affects like a very small portion of people, like trans women in sports, like you would think this is like the number one issue for every single person in America, where most people are just trying to put food on the table, you know, support their families. But in these online spheres, it's like you get this one thing, and then it's like this YouTube channel is doing 50 videos. It's like, yeah, I do think there's some of that going on.
I see that. I could see that. I mean, mind you, like a lot of the stuff that you're saying, I'm like, oh my God, I talk about that all the time. but I know what you're saying though, because it also makes me think about my part in it. Like, that's why, like, whenever I share stuff on Twitter, like a lot of times now I don't, because I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't need to signal boost this bullshit. Like,
yeah,
I don't like it. So why am I signal boosting it?
Yeah. And there is a lot of audience capture going on. And a lot of people are, and I'm not saying you're in this group, are like, oh, I'm going to stop. You know, you can't trust the mainstream. You can't blah, blah, blah. They have an incentive. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But then there's like a YouTuber whose entire livelihood now is based on making these videos that cater to this one kind of audience. So they're going to keep doing it and doing it. They have an incentive to continuously talk about this shit too. And they're getting paid for it too. And they're trying to use their audiences too. So like for me, I've like I said, I pride myself in being consistent and to look at issue by issue instead of looking at like a side. So being a sex worker, I get a lot of the far left people that are totally on my side, but I don't agree with them on everything. And I'm not afraid. I don't want to create an echo chamber. The day that like my comment section all agrees with me, I'm going to get bored.
Yeah, no, I get
what I'm looking for, but that's what most people are looking for. Most people want a confirmation bias. Like, I'm on the left, but if you go in my YouTube recommendations, you'll see left wing, you'll see Daily Wire, you'll see like like if I want to learn about an issue, I'll watch the left, I'll watch the right, come with learn both sides, then do my independent research. But most people don't like that. Most people want a confirmation bias. They want an echo chamber. So even one of my friends who's like, I guess, at least a fan of you guys in your community, like he was saying like, oh yeah, when the Star Wars movie came out, like I hated it. And like, he just watched a bunch of videos saying that it's bad. And I'm like, what does that do though? Like you think it's bad. Like you want a little bit of validation, but like, how far do you take that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with so much of what you're saying. And because I think, by the way, Push-Ups is saying for $2, gotta sleep, your gem, Jazmen. Cheers.
Thank you.
Real quick, he also had one more super chat, which was actually Little Mermaid is life and death issue for Nina. It's not, but we can talk about that in a minute. But thank you, Push-Ups, for your support and the $2.
Thanks for
but that's the thing. Like I find that, and I guess that this will reflect that too. But I find it interesting because like that's why I like having a conversation with someone like you, because you are more liberal than me. And like I feel like you're like the classic liberal though. Like
Yeah.
you're not far left, because I don't think I could talk to far left people
No,
anymore.
I don't think they would go on your show.
Yeah, I don't think that they would either. And I think that's where like I love talking to people like you, because I like finding common ground with people who think differently than I do, because
Yeah.
I think that's like what you were saying, like it's boring otherwise. Life is boring if we all agree on everything. Like we can't be clones of each other.
Yeah.
And I like I get it. Like some people are going to have different points of view, and that's okay. Like that's totally fine. Can we be respectful and have different points of view? That's all I care about.
Exactly. And the way to get smarter and the way to better support your position is by knowing the best arguments against your position.
Exactly.
I think that's just the way. So if you can't, like any issue you can think of, like think abortion, super complex moral issue. If you only listen to your side, you're going to be terrible at arguing that issue, because you haven't heard the best arguments on the other side that make you stop, think, okay, let me reformulate. How do I attack this? Like you can't do that if you're just listening to everybody you agree with and you're just like rah behind the computer. You're not actually going to be able, you're not going to develop critical thinking skills. And to me, that's so important. So that's just something I urge everyone to do. Listen to people who disagree with you, watch their videos. Don't fall into that confirmation bias where everyone's just reaffirming your narrative, because for a lot of things, there are good points on the other side. And if you completely blind yourself to that, you're just going to be a dumbass. I don't know how to say it.
Well, it's so funny because like, I think you're someone to me that's like the definition of don't judge a book by its cover. And like, I mean that in the way of like, cause I think you're so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think it's like, it's just so weird to like, not that it's weird to me, but it's just like, cause you do adult sex work. And I feel like when I first saw you, I prejudged you. Like when I first saw you on whatever, with Anna, cause I was watching just for Anna. I never watched that fucking podcast. And I was like, just going to watch for Anna and Brittany, cause they were my friends. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just being like, whatever. And then you were like, I'm a Persian lawyer that does OnlyFans. And I was like, fucking get me out of here. Are you serious? Yeah. Like I was like, are you fucking serious?
And judging people is normal. That's another thing. Like as human beings, our brains are meant to compartmentalize, and we're supposed to, as long as you don't take that and you run with it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's normal. Like if somebody's walking around with a weird outfit, like you do take note of that. To pretend that we don't is insane. Like to pretend that to pretend that we don't have preconceived notions about how things work based on our genetics and environment, whatever, is insane. But like you, when you do judge someone, but then you wait for the information to come, and you have to be able to switch your opinion and not just be like, I put you in this box and that's the end.
And that's it. And that's exactly what happened with you. So like I started listening to what you were saying, because at first I was like, oh my God, this girl's going to be so dumb and she's going to say the dumbest shit. And I'm going to be like so embarrassed for all Persians. And I'm going to be like, holy fuck, like this is going on. And then you started saying some shit and I was like, oh my God, like this girl's actually kind of smart. And I was like, okay, this is impressive. And then not even that show is what sold me on you. What sold me on you is your show, your other whatever show where you went up against Lauren Chen. And I tuned in that one just for you, because I was like, oh, the OnlyFans lawyer chick against Lauren Chen. I'm interested. Like, let's see what this is going to be like. Because it's going to be like, left versus like liberal, like normal liberal versus like right. And I wouldn't even call Lauren far right. I would just say right.
She was so reasonable and great too, at least.
Yeah, she was. And you killed it. Like, I was like, man, this girl knows how to like debate. She's smart. She's like knows how to speak. She has good vocabulary. Like it's never like, you're not one of those people where you think about like, oh, OnlyFans girl. Like you're not like just this fucking dumb, retarded girl.
And I love that. I love challenging that stigma. Instead of sitting here and being pissed, oh, you guys are judging me. Of course you're judging me. I'm on the internet with my, like, I understand that. And that's why I love like speaking and people being like, wait a minute, every Monday I go live on my OnlyFans, but before we'll talk about philosophy, something I'll like stream, and even people who are super pro sex work will like message me and they're like, it's really weird for me to like see you this way and then see you that way. And I'm like, because you're not exposed to it, because so many people play one character online and they don't. And that's just what happens. You fall into the role. I even remember, like I told you, I love psychology. This can happen even with families and siblings. Like you call someone the black sheep and then they become the black sheep and they internalize that message. And so the reason I'm able to do that, the reason I'm able to engage with someone like Lauren is because I watch that stuff and I know those arguments and I've thought about them before. The problem is with people on the left and the right, but I would say a lot of times on the left, these people never engage with those people. So when they come on, even when I think they're right, they look so stupid because they don't know what to do other than say racist, homophobic, or like those. They just have the three words. And I'm like, oh my God. So like one person I really respect on the left is Destiny. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes. I've had an argument with him about pedophilia.
That's an interesting.
That was the first time I ever met him. And I was like, what is this? Like, it was like, I went on Chrissy's Simpcast and Lauren Southern was on there. And then like, we had this whole like weird debate where she was like, let's go to my thing on like, I don't know where we were, like on TikTok or whatever. Cause Destiny came by and and then we just started fucking debating pedophilia. And that was my very first like thing of Destiny. And I was like, this guy's a fucking retard. Cause he was talking about accepting pedophilia in society. And I was just like, I can't talk to you. Like, holy shit.
Too. Me and Destiny, so far, I've only discovered him a few months ago. When I've met him, he's great. But like, so far, I feel like we agree on everything, which is kind of crazy because I want to debate him on something, but I don't know what.
What you think you can debate him on this pedophilia issue? Do you agree with his?
No,
take?
I do think that pedophilia, if we want to get into it, I do think that people can't control their. I mean, I take this really far if you want to get super philosophical, like free will, all of that. I don't believe in any of it. And I do think from the research that I've seen, it's almost like an orientation. So obviously we have to condemn the behavior, but to stigmatize the desire, to me, one, doesn't make sense. And I don't know, even from a consequentialist perspective, if that's the best thing, because I don't know. I don't know if these people feeling already like terrible people just for feeling what they feel, if that's without any proper resources, support, etc. I feel like maybe if they had that, then that would be better.
I think that you fall very close to where he falls as well, because he's also like very classic liberal as well.
That's why like
that's a very classic liberal point of view.
I saw Hassan first and I was like, oh no, this person has no critical thinking skills. Not to Hassan Piker. I was like,
Hassan Piker,
I was like, this person, like I'd watch how he would break down an issue and I'm like, no. But then actually I did like Fresh and Fit and stuff, and everyone kept calling me like, you remind me of Destiny. So then I started watching more of his stuff and I was like, yes, this is someone on the left who is able to engage with the right, because he does. And he looks at things issue by issue, and you don't always know where he's going to fall. I feel like I kind of do, because we think about things really similarly, but it's not like he's pro-gun. Like there's just, it's not like down the middle. I just don't like people who are down the middle right or down the middle left, because in general, with some exceptions, those people aren't even critically thinking about every issue. I don't like people where I can predict how you feel about absolutely everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't like that either, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't agree. I definitely vehemently disagree with Destiny on like the pedophilia issue thing, which is fine. Like we can disagree. Like, I mean, I know, like, no hate in my heart for the guy or anything like that, but it's just like, we just very much disagree. And like, there's another guy, Vito. I mean, he feels the same way, but that guy's just crazy. I don't even talk about that guy. But that one's out.
For me, it's about people who will, like, he's somebody who wouldn't hate you either right now. You know what I mean?
Destiny?
Yeah.
I don't think
I mean, he doesn't hate people who disagree with him. He doesn't cancel people who disagree with him.
He doesn't give me that vibe. Like, I don't think
he doesn't. He at least from what I know. But there are people like on the left who are like you disagreed with me. You're a blah, 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 block, cancel, never talking.
Well, he got canceled by
Yeah,
his
he
own
did.
people. Like, and that's the thing about the left, right? I mean, like when it happened, I couldn't help but giggle just a little bit because I was like, like the left canceling the left is always a little funny to me. I call it woke on woke crime. So it's just like, well, I don't call it that. Eric July calls it that, and I've stolen it. But
you did Holly Woke. That we want it all said here.
Holly Woke
did Holly Woke, and anyone else who uses it is stealing it from her.
That's right. I coined it, bitches.
Right.
But yeah, like, but I feel like I don't know. Like, I think you and Destiny would get along. I mean, I would see that. I don't know what you could debate him on. Like, I would be interested in seeing a debate with you and Destiny.
We're actually planning on doing a couple on the same side coming up. One might actually be on the Whatever podcast too. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me know when that is because I definitely want to
doing a debate
check that out. But just to address this, so the thing is, first of all, nothing is a life and death issue for me when it comes to like movies and entertainment, because they're movies and entertainment. Like at the end of the day, like really, it's just all, fucking entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I think,
but it's your job. It's your job. It's like
it's my job.
Your life is all about showing your tits online. Well, yeah, because when I'm online, I'm going to show my tits because that's my job.
Oh my God. Look at fucking Spike come in here raining on my parade. Sorry, Nina. Holly Woke has been around for a while now. Whatever, Spike.
Really?
You heard it here first. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I don't believe you.
Give us your source.
Russell says Vito clarified his stance and apologized on Flash. I know he did. I know he did. But he still believes very much similarly to what Destiny believes in with regards, which is a very classic liberal take on pedophilia. Okay. Like, it's not
probably kind of what I had just now.
Yes, exactly. It's not like, I'm not trying to call out Vito for that. I'm not calling him a pedophile, like nothing like that. I'm saying he has a very, very similar take to Destiny because it's a very liberal take. So that's what it is. Hey, Legal Mindset, what's up? What's up, dude? How you doing? Doing an anime episode tomorrow. I was thinking about my favorite Persian weeb. Also, OnlyFans clearly out earns most lawyers. You need to get on there, Legal. I don't know. Have you met Andrew?
No, I've just started being introduced to like.
Okay.
Google.
Yeah, you met Bronca, which is that wasn't very pleasant, but but they hang out in like the same sphere. So
okay.
Yeah. Like you'll meet him and Nick Rekieta, obviously, like he's I've been trying to get you or get him to get you on. Actually, I was like, you need to get this girl on. He's like, I know. I'm
actually going to be in Miami next week, so I'm going to try to link up with Lauren too.
Ooh, that's fun. That's fun.
So, I don't let her know, but
cool. But yeah, like Mr. Chickle, don't worry, Vito will make more bad takes soon. He's full of them. But I would be very interested if you did actually do a debate with Destiny, not on the same side, like against each other. Like I would be
too. I just need to find something we disagree on. I don't watch like most because he streams like all day.
Yeah.
And I actually never knew who he was. I never watched. I used to watch like politics online, but never streamer, like video game, like that, like bleeding into this stuff now is really interesting to me.
I'd never thought about that either. Like I'd never watched it. I didn't even know who he was until he's like ended up being in that. And I was like, wait, what are you saying to me right now? And it was just like it was a thing. But
I was like, I thought like, video game people, like
like I was like, I thought video game people just played video games. Like
me too.
Who's talking fucking politics while playing video games? Because I play video games, Jazmn. Like I don't know if you do. Do you play video games?
That's why I never was any of this.
But see, I play video games, so video games are like a sacred thing for me, where it's like when I play video games, I don't want to talk about politics. Like that is not like I play video games to get away from this world. So it's like to combine the two, I'm like, that's
what's like fucking me up right now, because I used to do politics to get away from my world, and now that I'm kind of like weaving my way into this stuff, I'm like, I just want to be high and chill, and I want to watch. I'm like, no, I may actually debate this person soon, so let me like not watch. Like it's like, like I just can't I have to change my time off. So I just went to like animal documentaries and shit.
That's funny. Oh my God, that is hilarious. Okay, let me read a couple more of these super chats because people have been so generous. Push-ups in the 90s, for the jukebox, in the 90s, the most pop show in Iran was Baywatch. What?
The most pop show? What does that mean?
Popular, I'm guessing.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, when it came to the other super chat, when he was talking about the Little Mermaid,
Mhm.
the Little Mermaid is not a life and death thing for me, but I believe that culture is slowly being destroyed by the message and like propaganda and things like that. And like, I know, because you're Persian, that how much propaganda has been in movies for a long time. Like, it's not like it's not a new thing, but I believe that culture is changing through that. But also, I'm one of those people that's like, look, if you're going to make a movie based on something, make the people look like the thing that you're making it on. Like, I don't care if you're going to like make the live action, whatever, just make it based on whatever the character looks like. That's just me. Like, it's like a personal thing. I don't care if, like, for example, like when they had like Cinderella, like Brandy Cinderella with like, I love that Cinderella. Like, I was like, I love Brandy Cinderella with Whitney Houston. Like, that's a fucking great movie. But like all the new Disney stuff is like, I feel like it's just kind of like a bastardization of their animated stuff. So like we just talked about Aladdin earlier and how it wasn't as good as like the cartoon. No. So that's why I feel like I don't like those things.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't like live action Disney movies because I just feel like they're just bastardizing their own cartoons, and the cartoons were so good. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm just not into it. But like, even when
you say the culture is getting destroyed, what do you mean destroyed? Like, where do you think this could end up?
Like, I think for example, like since I told you so much about Star Wars, right? Like, I mean, like, for example, one of the things that's happening, I think, is like that the male hero is slowly being like kind of lifted out. And I feel like a lot of young boys and young men growing up now are kind of being raised to see themselves as the villain, or to see themselves as basically less than. Like, so in the 90s and like when we were growing up, we were constantly told like we are equal, like in a sense of like, what we should be, like the respect that we should receive should be equal, right? Like, but of course, boys and girls are different. Like, of course, we have different bodies and different, like the way we think and the way we feel and like all that stuff. Boys and girls are different. Everybody knows this, right? But somehow everything is kind of becoming convoluted, and through like this messaging, especially like by companies like Disney, I believe that is changing. And I think that, for example, with Star Wars, like Luke Skywalker was such a huge male hero. Like he was a very big, like even for me, right? Like I was like, I love Luke Skywalker because he's a hero for a lot of people. And so they, through the new Disney Star Wars, they systematically destroyed that character. And I think when you destroy a character, you're destroying a culture. Like you're destroying that kind of like what we loved about the West as Iranians, like, like the idea of free speech, the idea that women and men can work together to save the galaxy, like the way Princess Leia and Luke and Han work together to save the galaxy, like that kind of thing. Like, I know you don't get too much of the references, but that's
every time I do one of these streams, I'm like getting there.
You're getting it. Well, you're gonna have to watch Star Wars, at least the first 3, like the first classic one.
Long though.
But they're amazing. You'll love it. You'll just get super stoned and be like, okay, I'm gonna get like,
I need it like a day like that where I can just like,
just get really stoned and be like, okay, there's robots in
my
here.
mom actually growing up, she
we
didn't watch she's like East for boys, like Toy Story and Monsters Inc. She was totally like, my princesses.
Oh my god, that's funny.
She loved Mulan because she saves China, like one of those. And it's interesting what you're talking about, because I'm wondering what you think will happen to the boys. Because then what we're also seeing is, like you said, the 90s, your equal message is we're getting this group of like extreme boys, like the manosphere, like fresh and fit.
I don't like that either.
No, this is man, and like women are this, and you're all sluts, and you don't matter, and it's like it's like the pendulum swinging.
Yes. Yeah, and like, but with regards to like, I don't know where this is going to lead specifically, like, because I mean, who knows, right? But I mean, I feel like I see kind of like the degradation. Am I saying that the right word? Yeah, of society, just because like what do boys have to look forward to? Like, what is their hero? And like, that kind of thing. And I think it's happening with girls too, because it's like on another level, because if girls are constantly told you're better than boys and you're better than everything, you're better at everything that you do all the time, there's no room for improvement then, is there? Because you're constantly told that you're better than everything and everyone all the time. Like, it's just like, okay, so how can you improve yourself as a woman and as a female, and realize that you do have shortcomings, especially when it comes to men, like let's say, physical wise, or like, whatever. Like, those are certain things that we are different about, and that's okay. Like, I like the message that we're different and it's okay to be different. Like, we have to accept for each other for our differences, not be like, oh, let's just all focus us on those differences. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like things are changing, not in the correct way. Just give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah. I'll get in the comments. Never mind, I'm not going to know what any of these are talking about. There are certain truths, biological truths of the sexes are undeniable. Yeah, so I'll wait till Nina comes back.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. For what?
My husband came to tell me the life and death thing was because of a story I used to tell, what I've told before, which you don't know. Because you didn't live in Iran, you didn't experience some of the things I experienced. Like, for example, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Filmi guy. Like, the
what guy?
Filmi guy has your, like, the guy that would bring movies to the house. Like, you never had family members that experienced that.
Maybe if I told my mom, she would know, but she never talked to me about it.
Okay, yeah, because like that's what happened. That's what Push-Ups was referring to, is because I've explained that I risked my life to watch Disney movies in Iran for many years. Like, when I was like little, my mom would get us Disney movies from like this guy that was like a drug dealer, and he would come to the house and he'd be like, okay, hurry up and pick your movies. Like, I gotta go. Cause it was like, he would record the movies on cassettes, and like, cause you know how Hollywood movies are banned in like Iran. So I would like risk my life to like watch Disney movies. And so when I came back, so that's why that's why a part of me is really bitter at Disney, because I like loved them so much when I was little. Now I feel like they're constantly letting me down, and I'm like, what happened? And that's what Push Up was talking about. My husband was like, dude, you like, that thing went way over your head. He's talking about the story, and I was like, oh shit, okay.
Okay, that makes sense. I see. So
now I wanted to clarify.
Well, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I think like there are differences, and I think there was issues with the way they used to be perceived in the past, because it made it seem like there's like, and if you saw me with Lauren Chen, this is kind of what I was explaining. Like, yes, for like the men like people, women like people. That may be true on average, but there's a lot of overlap that used to be ignored, or it used to be like, you're a woman, we're just going to stereotype you this way. But then you're right that the pendulum swung too far, and so I feel like the pendulum's just like. And there's a lot of people in the middle, but they're not the loudest.
And it's swinging back again. Like, and that's why, like, for example, the South Park episode reflects on how it's swinging back. Because like, through comedy, first it's going to start through comedy. First, they're going to be like, oh, let's make fun of this woke culture. Oh, like, let's do this. And then there was a new movie. I don't know if you've seen it or not. There's a new movie with Bill Burr on Netflix. It's called Old Dads. That was also another one that was making fun of woke culture. And I was like, see, like, look, it's starting to happen. It's like slowly, like, they're starting to kind of like recognize that things are changing.
Entire careers, even on YouTube, that are built on talking about how bad the woke shit is.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like my thing too, like for a while. But I mean, I'm just such a different person because because it's not a life and death thing for me now. Like, I'm like, oh, can we focus on other things, like, good news, or like, can we focus on something else other than like, oh, the world is just shit and we all want, like,
But some people can't, because that's what their audience wants. And if you're like there's probably
Yeah.
some type of really extreme anti-woke channel. And if he was to just get on tomorrow and be like, you know what, we're kind of going too far. Like he can't do that because the
No.
mob that he's incited now wants, and so that's what that audience capture means, is that you start to just go farther and farther and farther down. Like, what are the 3 ends of radicalization? Need narrative network. Like you can see that in some like far sects of this. Not saying you seem really reasonable, but
thank you.
Yeah,
I try. It's funny because sometimes like you don't come across as, not you specifically, like just generally speaking, like I feel like you don't come across as like nuance or anything on Twitter or wherever. But when you start to have a conversation with people, that's why it's good to have conversations like that. We can like, I always think we can find common ground if you have a conversation with someone.
Yeah. Twitter is like just exactly. Like you could be saying the worst shit on Twitter, but then at the grocery store, you walk by this person and you can have a wonderful conversation about where your kids go to school,
Exactly. Like human shit, like life.
People forget that online, and Twitter, those places are fueled on how angry can your tweet be and how angry can you make people. And that's part of the reason I don't go on it.
It's terrible. Don't.
Who was really saying like reading, like when you read a book, the thing you're learning is that things are nuanced. It's not quick. I don't get information from an Instagram post or a tweet that I didn't like fact check. Like, it takes a while to get through an ideology or really understand something. But with Twitter, people, especially these younger people who don't read books, who don't, try to do things to check their confirmation bias, they're just seeing, like, of course, like even with this war, like whichever side, if you're on the extreme of every side and you're only seeing that narrative, you think the other side is just crazy. Like you think how can they not? I'm seeing these facts. These are facts, but those facts were curated for your algorithm. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and war does that to people too, like bring out like insanity in everybody. Like, that's why I try to stay away from it a little bit, because again, also as a Persian, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this war.
Yeah.
We might be involved in it, and I don't
I am like, oh.
like, no, please God, no.
I know. I only been to Iran twice, like once when I was a baby and once when I was like 10, and I never like really wanted to, but now that I can't, I'm like, Iran.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So do you want to go back?
Not under this government, and I couldn't under this government either, but like something about
They'll
like
kill you.
never, yeah, of course. So never seeing like my ames or stuff like that, like kind of like, ooh, like, and they don't know why. They're like, Kamia, and I'm like,
so, she just said, when are you coming to Iran, by the way, people?
Yeah.
No, it's, how did you learn Farsi? Did your parents teach you?
Yeah. So my parents were both first generation immigrants. I was second. So in the house, I only spoke Farsi, and then I was in ESL.
Oh, okay. So your parents did a good job. Let me ask you, actually, I had a couple questions Persian wise for you. Okay, Let me ask you these. Persian wise, what's your favorite Persian food?
Fesenjun.
Really?
I know it's a really random one, and I'm like the pickiest eater, but like I love fesenjun. And my mom like goes crazy every time I visit, and she like tries to put like 2 pounds in my suitcase. I'm like, Mom, it's okay.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Explain for the white people what fesenjun is.
Oh, it's kind of hard. How would you describe it? It's like a rice and like a, what is it, like pomegranate stewy thing?
Yes, it's like pomegranate stew. There's usually meat in it.
Yeah, there's meat in it, but it's like this paste on top of it that is.
It's kind of sour.
Slash sweet.
It's very difficult.
It's really difficult thing to explain.
I am a huge fan. My favorite Persian food is ghormeh sabzi. Like
everyone likes ghormeh sabzi. I'm like, I don't even
live off ghormeh sabzi for the rest of my life. This is fesenjun, guys. So it's kind of like pomegranate with meat,
and then you have it with rice usually.
Yeah, and you have it with rice. There's the rice picture in the corner here. They got like extra anod here. I mean, a pomegranate here. Yeah. It's funny when I talk to like Persian people, like I go into like Farglish mode. Like I can like talk Farsi, but not as well as I would like. So whenever I see a Persian person or like someone who understands, I like practicing Farsi, and then I'll remember.
I
Oh
think
wait, I'm
doing the
online.
half and half is funny. So yeah, your Farsi is probably way better than mine. I really have a really bad accent now, and if like my household, pretty much after I started school, and I was like, Farsi isn't cool. My parents would talk to me in Farsi, and I would answer in English. My mom actually remembers, like, she's like, because there was a time where I started like only wanting to speak English, and I was like playing with my doll, and she's like, Farsi, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but my doll's American. She doesn't know Farsi. And my mom's like, okay, well, she lives here. She has to learn, because she was like a blonde doll. And
my God.
And so my mom always tells that story. And so now, like, I totally have an accent. Like, I can understand everything, but I feel like I need to like talk for a while for it to start flowing.
Same. I'm the same way. I mean, my accent is like not too bad, but it's also sometimes there. Like I'm like, oh no, like I'm
like if you went to Iran, would they know that you live not?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have when I went the last time I went back to Iran was like literally a month before 9/11. Like so wow. I returned like the month before 9/11, and I was like, and then 9/11 happened, and I was like, I'm never going back. Like that's it. It's done. And I didn't, and I never went back again. And it's sad, but I do, but not on the current.
Yeah. So you're like me. It's
I
do. You do because you want to hang out with your family and the culture. I mean, I don't love all aspects. Like that's one thing I get from a lot of Arabs and not a lot of actually Arabs for some reason. They just like they came in and they're like, how could you do this? I'm like, I'm not even one of you. People are like, how could you betray your culture? I'm like, I don't play for a fucking team. Like there are aspects of our culture I love. I love the generosity. I love that we're family oriented. I love all that. But there are parts of it that I don't like. And it's not like you take all or nothing. And so I think you're like me, and like there's so many beautiful parts of our culture that we wish we could enjoy, but under these circumstances we can't, or it's outweighed by those things. And so
yeah, because like and Persian culture is like changed so much too, like after the Islamic takeover, and like a lot of like, you know, a lot of our culture is associated with that, but then we're not that. So it's like,
especially the young people. Have you seen like a lot of them are like atheist. Like it's funny because I see a lot of Persian people, even in Iran, who like I'm like, do we all kind of have some type of similar genes, because they like turn into like me, like the way they everything, and it's like the exact same way that I do it, and like the passion that I do it with, and I'm like, okay,
it's our people. Like it kind of it makes sense in that sense, and that's why I do want to go back to Iran. I would love to go back, and Iran is also very beautiful. Like it's a very, very, very beautiful country. And I would love to go back one day, but I just really wish that they would get rid of this fucking government so that I could go back. I've always said if they got rid of the government, Jazmn, I would go back and live there. Like I wouldn't even like, as long as if they made like hijab a choice, like if they made it like Turkey, like if they made it like Turkey, I'd go back in a heartbeat. I'd be like, let's go live there.
I need all of what do they call the regular toilets that we have?
What do they Parangi?
Yeah, Parangi. That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, every time I would go to one of my aunt's houses, I was like, Mom, do they have that?
They have that now. They have that everywhere
now. Yeah, that would be like my other.
Yeah,
thing. But you're right. It is such a beautiful and I love that people are like always together there.
Yeah,
like, that's what I think is one of the worst parts of the West is like you turn 18 and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna move here, and then like it's like never around your family. You like see them here. Over there, it's like. They're
very that's one of the things I like about Mexico. It's because Mexican culture is really like the Persian culture in that sense. I think it's more like the Latino, like most people are like that. Like that's a very white culture
thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna call my mom once a year, whereas like our moms all the time, like God, like, literally I don't answer her. She's like, what are you doing? What do you do? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's Persian moms.
Yeah,
like one of the things I don't like. Yeah, one of the things I don't like about Persian culture, like this is something I used to argue about with my mom, is like some of the sayings, and like I just feel like it's like really, and that's the white part of me where I'm like I don't like when people are disingenuous. So for example, like when they're like like they're constantly like or like or some like things like that. You're like, do
baby,
you really like? I don't need you to like kill yourself for me, like because that the translation of that, guys, because you're probably like, what the fuck does that mean? It means like I will sacrifice myself for
die
you.
for you. Yeah. And like it's very much like you'll talk to like a woman you met once when you were like 6 months old, and she'll be saying those things.
Yeah, she'll be saying those things. Like, I'll sacrifice myself for you because you're so cute. And I'm like, I don't need you to sacrifice yourself for me. I just need to call me once in a while. Like, can you do that? Like, like can you keep in touch? Like,
what
I
are your
don't need the sacrifice
issues with the Iranian culture?
That's probably one.
Okay.
The other one is like, what's it called? Like, rudarvasi. Like, I don't even know how you say that in English. Like how, like it's like a constant like back and forth of like no, this is it, but no, it's really this. Like it's just like you're like you're lying. You're like I'll invite you to my home, like come in, like yeah, come in, but you're actually not wanting these people anywhere near you. Like that
kind of like that tarof, like
the tarof. Like I hate it. I cannot stand.
Oh, that didn't make sense to me. I grew up here and like I'd go to someone's house and they're like, and I would just take it right away. And my mom's like, why are you doing? I'm like, because they gave it to me. And she's like, you're supposed to say no. I'm like, why the fuck are they giving it to me?
Yeah. Like it's just like, well, say what you mean then. Like I don't understand. Like I don't like. that's what I don't like. I don't like what you just taught of. Like that the idea of like just offering something because you're like trying to be polite, but it's kind of like the Southern thing, like the like Southerners do that.
On the other end is to decline even if you want it. It's a really bizarre
decline thing. Even if you want it. Like, oh my God, like you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to
say yes
until like you have to decline 3 times, and like the 4th time you can.
Yeah, it's like why? Why is this? Like I'm like I don't understand. Like, oh, here, have some cookies. Oh, no, thank you. I really don't want. No, thank you. No, thank you for the cookies. Please. No.
And you're supposed to do this back and forth, because if I was to be like, do you want cookies? And Nina was like, yeah, I'll take one. It's rude.
That's rude. You're not supposed to do that. Persian culture. Those are the things that drive me fucking actually wild. Like I'm like, is our culture like mentally ill? Like I don't understand.
I feel like also the like respect your. I hated that ever since I was a kid. Like
what?
Your elders, like
respect your elders,
all costs. Like you can't even disagree with them. Like you can't say anything if they know better because they're older. Like that whole like the American because I said so. That's kind of like the whole world.
It's so funny because like I kind of get what you're saying about the respect your elders thing, because like some of them were like really retarded and you're like, like why? Like no,
I know.
But at the same time, I get it, because it's like now that there is no respect your elders, I'm like, look at the society of like when they don't respect their elders. Like it's like that's what happens. Like nobody's respecting anybody anymore. Like you see the two sides. You know what I mean? Like there's the extremes.
But I do feel like there, like even like what I did. It's like, oh, you should have lived. Like it's like expected that you live your life to make your parents happy or to make your parents proud. It's like, but it's my life. Like that bit of individualism I like in the West. Like I like how close-knit people are over there, but I also don't like how it's like, oh, like you brought shame into you embarrassed. Like that's
you're embarrassed.
I don't honestly even think my mom cares. She just, God forbid, Khale so-and-so finds out about this. It's like that to them is like a death sentence.
Khale means aunt, by the way, people.
Which you call like all your mom's friends.
Yeah. Like all your mom's friends are like your aunt.
In fact, anyone like kind of older than you growing up was Khale, whatever her name was.
100%. Okay, one more question for you before I get to the next other super chat so we can call this show. Do you have a favorite TV show or a show that's Persian, like a Persian TV show?
No, I feel like I'm like, because my parents would watch it and I used to hate, like, I don't know what it is about Iranian, like, it's too dramatic. It's like
so
all like
dramatic.
soap opera, and it's like, oh, Void, and I'm like, I'm never gonna watch this shit, like,
Oh
ever.
my God.
Okay,
Okay,
and
well,
the Turkish ones with like this Farsi dubbed,
yeah.
and I'm like, more like turned off. So
You're like,
no,
no.
I never. But when I was young, I used to have all of the like Persian, like atal matal, like I was
Oh
like,
my
I knew
God.
all of those, like I grew up with that. So those kinds of things, yeah, but I never like sat down and watched like a show in Farsi. I don't think.
Okay, so I have a recommendation for you. I mean, obviously it's very dramatic.
Okay.
And it's I think it's the one of the best TV shows I've ever watched. Like, I mean,
Wow.
English, I mean, in anything. Like, I think it's like one. And if I'm telling you, if you tell your mom, your mom will probably know what I'm talking about because it's the most famous show in Iran. It's called Shahzad. Have you ever
Okay.
heard of the show?
I mean, no, I don't think so. Maybe I have because that's a
You
name.
tell your mom, okay? Like, be
Okay.
like, have you heard of Shahzad? And if she hasn't, you tell her to watch it because it's amazing.
She probably
girl.
has.
She probably has, and she'll be like, who told you about this? Keep it going.
I'll be like, oh, I met another Iranian girl, and she'll be like, does she know what you do? Like, she calls it my fan. She's like, are you still doing my fan?
My fans.
Are you
That's
still
funny.
doing my fans?
Oh my God. Tell her for sure. And then she'll be like, oh my God. Like, but in all honesty, though, if you watch it though, like you'll be like, oh, because it teaches you a lot because it's about like the revolution and it teaches you about like what happened, like, you know, how it went from like one thing to the other. It's like the whole respect your elder things is there, but like the elder guy is like this guy named Alajun, and he makes like the worst decisions ever for everybody, and but still everybody has to listen to him because he's kind of like the godfather of the family, so everybody has to listen to him, and it's like, oh my God, it's so good. You have to watch it. It's
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
I'll
good.
remember that.
It's good shit. It's good shit. But okay, let me get a couple more of these super chats and then we're gonna call it very soon. Russell Hall, thank you for the $5. Says, firstly, thanks for showing the goods. Here's hoping you convince more girls to share their goodies, but why smash on camera? Why not keep it softcore? I think this is a question for you.
I think it would reverse that. Why keep it softcore? Why not smash on camera? Especially if you get more money, and I'm sure there are downsides, but I don't really care about those. So for me, the cost benefit analysis clearly swung one way.
Okay. So like you're pro smash on camera.
I am pro smash on camera, not for everybody. I think, and this is the same thing with like OnlyFans. Like, I don't think everybody should do it. There are things you need to consider. You need to be really strong in your values and what you believe in, why, like me. Because now even my own family, like they don't bring this up because, oh, you want to debate sex work? Cool, let's do it. Like you need to be really strong in that.
But hang on, I have a question based on that. Because you said earlier that you're not into hookup culture. But if you're into like smash on camera, like do you have like a specific partner that you smash
I
with?
only smash my one friend with benefit on camera and we film it. That's it. I don't do like collabs. I don't smash people just for OnlyFans, but we were already having sex and then he wanted to film it. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to sell it then. And so now that's become.
Oh, so you don't you're not switching partners every other day?
No,
I've
never. This is the only person I've had sex with since it since I started having sex with it, pretty much.
Okay. Russell wants to know if it pays more.
Yes, it does. It is on OnlyFans. It's called BG content, boy girl content, and typically that does like your tapes sell the most. But depends on the person. Some people only like to see solo shit. So having a variety is how you can really make sure that you have something for everyone. That's how
you know what? That was another one of my questions. Is like, do you take requests on OnlyFans?
I used to, I still do, but because I'm so busy now and my fan base is so big that it's like too hard for me to fulfill them. But like when I first started and I had a more manageable fan base, I would take custom requests. Yeah. And
when you say your fan base is so big, like, is it like subscriber base and like how many subscribers do you have?
Right now, like I am like well in the top like 0.1%. Like my percentage goes below, it's always within that. So sometimes like 0.03, 0.0, whatever.
Wow.
So since I started, I've had over 80,000 paid OnlyFans subscribers. Most of those have fallen off.
Did you start like being like that right away? Like when you
I did, like I started out on Reddit, and it's funny because I posted in all the Latina, because there's no like Persian ones. So I posted in all the Latina ones, and I like blew up pretty quickly from just Reddit alone. So no, but every creator, unless you're a celebrity and you already had like a base, I didn't have any social media. So I started from scratch. So when I first started, I did grow pretty like quickly, but it wasn't like an overnight thing. So in the beginning, I did have time to do like one-on-one conversations, and I had more time to take requests. And oh my God, the funniest thing is, I've said this before, like I don't care what's out on the internet, like my fucking asshole spread open, I don't care. But those custom videos, like some of them are so cringy that like I just don't want those really.
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? That was my question. That was my next question, which was, what's the weirdest thing anyone's asked you to do?
Oh my gosh. People have asked, I can't even, like the customs. People think I'm like a movie director. They're like, okay, so there's two Jazmens and you guys are fighting against each other, and then you're fighting over who's the real Jazz. I'm like, how do you expect me to do this? But when I first started, and like I just have these awkward videos out on the internet now where I'm like talking to myself, and like it's yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Wow. I mean, so much of the things you're saying is like just blows my fucking mind. But I'm like, but I love it. I love it. That's great. I mean, that's fucking great. Russell Hall, okay, no, thank you for that. We got that one. Wolf Spain for 5 says Aladdin has always been my favorite Disney movie, but I refuse to watch a live action movie. Haven't watched a live action movie since Maleficent. Same here.
Well, Maleficent was a unique story, wasn't it? Like it wasn't a remake. Maleficent wasn't like a remake.
Yeah, but it was so bad for me. Like I was like, because I was so into it. Okay. I went there. I was like, Angelina, look at her. She looks amazing. I told you, like anything that looks like the character, like I'm there, you know? And then I went there, and then they made Maleficent the misunderstood like a fucking bad guy, and the king was the bad dude that turned her into this fucking vicious bitch. And I'm like, it's Maleficent. Like, no, she's evil. She's an evil incarnate bitch. She's a fucking dragon. Like, she's not misunderstood. And that's what I like. That's one of the things I don't like about Disney is like they don't understand how to do villains anymore. So even like, for example, I haven't seen it because I was like, I'm done with live action. But like the new Cruella de Vil, apparently,
I did see that one.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
You know how like they made her like misunderstood?
I didn't love that. And I didn't love, and didn't they make like 2 or maybe even 3 Maleficent?
No, the second one's coming out.
I did like, the only live action I liked was the Beauty and the Beast one, because
I didn't mind that one either. I liked it.
They didn't change anything. Like I like that Emma Watson was a good Belle, and they had the exact same story. There was nothing, as you say, there was no message change to make it more politically correct.
I'm with you. Like I watched, like when they started the whole live action thing, I watched Cinderella and I was like, this is great. I watched Beauty and the Beast. I was like, this is pretty good. Like if we keep going like this, I'm fine with it. Like that's fine. And then they came out with Maleficent. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, no, this was no.
The Lion King one that just like no one had any expression. I was like,
no, I was like, I'm not watching Lion King. I was like, first of all, this isn't called live action. This is called 3D. Okay.
Yeah.
Live action would be if you go out and film a bunch of fucking lions. Okay.
I know, but it's like, if you're going to do that, then do that. But it was like the worst of both worlds, because I love like actually seeing lions. But if I want to watch like a movie, I want to watch a movie. I don't want to see just the most realistic looking fake lions that don't move. Like it's
just so bad. And apparently they're coming out with a second one, so it made enough money.
Lion King 2, like the oh god,
Lion King 2 live action. Like they're apparently coming out with that, and they're coming out with Bambi live action. And I'm like,
they are doing the Hunchback, and Hunchback was my favorite, one of my favorites growing up. And I'm interested in seeing how they do that, because the Hunchback to me was like a super adulty cartoon and I liked how they did those mature themes that I feel like they wouldn't do now.
That's interesting.
I feel like you couldn't get a Disney movie in 2023 like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like it was just way too, like the themes were too mature.
It's a little dark.
That they wouldn't, like, you said, like the villains now, like even like my cousin's kids and stuff, like their villains are like interesting, funny looking mice or like whatever. They're not like scary anymore. They don't do
Yeah.
scary villains anymore.
They just don't do villains well. And I think that's part of the reason that I have such a huge problem with Disney now is because they've become the villain. So they're like, villains are good because we're the villains now. So like we're good. We're good people. Like trust us. And I'm like, motherfuckers, you're like the bad people. Like you're the villains.
Yeah,
like no.
villains. Like I feel like kids nowadays, like they see the villains and they like laugh. Like the villains are like silly, and I'm like, that's okay for some movies, but I feel like there should still be the scary, like you're staying up at night.
Yeah, girl. I used to be scared of Ursula. Like when I was little, I was like, like Ursula, like oh my god, she's scary. Like I would fast forward her parts, even though that's my favorite Disney movie of all time. Like she's like, you know, The Little Mermaid's my Disney, like my Disney. Which one's yours? Which one's your favorite Disney movie? Was it Hunchback?
Hunchback or Tarzan? I love Tarzan because I love the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack was like so good.
Yeah.
And my first crush was Peter Pan, and then my second crush was Tarzan. Those were like my crushes growing up before like I had live crushes.
That's so funny. I love that. I love that Peter Pan was your first crush. That is
Peter
so
Pan
cute.
was absolutely my first crush. I used to literally like go to sleep and be like, "I hope he takes me to Neverland." I was literally like,
so cute.
So obsessed
I love that. That's great.
Now I'm like, okay, I could still go for Tarzan, but no.
That's funny.
Like,
see, that is one Disney movie they'll never race swap. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
Russell Hall for $2 says you could probably solve world hunger for babies.
Well, I mean, maybe I'd make that the genie wish, or maybe you would make that the genie.
I think he means because of your boobs.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can wish for that with one of your wishes.
I'm not wishing for that.
No, I meant him, not you.
Oh, him.
Yeah, him. I'm saying Russell.
You do it, Russell.
You can get a special wish in there. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Cecil has a small peepee for $1.99. Wow, that's just mean. I'm wishing for more than 3 wishes. So there. That's against the rules, bro.
That's against the rules.
You can't wish for more wishes.
You can't wish for more wishes. No one can fall in love with you, and you can't bring people back from the dead.
Back from the dead. That's right.
The other one.
You can't do that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's fine. There's no one really dead I want to bring back.
No, I would never do that anyway. That's like weird and morbid.
I'd be pissed if I was dead and someone's brought. I'd be like, I like went through this. Like it's
I'd be pissed. I'd be like, man, like have you never heard of rest in peace? Like I was in peace. Okay, you bring me back to this hellhole. Like what the fuck? Deranged Lunatic, thank you for the $1.99. Says, wow, 2 beautiful women. My lucky night. You are welcome. Thank you. Wolf Spain for another $5 says, well, I'm off to destroy Canada. They've had it too good for too long. Norm the Genie from Fairly Odd Parents, ironically voiced by Norm Macdonald. Aw, I never saw that.
You never saw Fairly Odd Parents?
No.
Oh, you know what I used to love? I loved all the dark shit. I used to wake up like 5 a.m. and like watch Courage the Cowardly Dog. I used to love that. It was just so eerie and I loved it.
Which one?
Courage the Cowardly Dog. Did you not? How old are you?
I am 38.
Oh, okay. So you're like a decade. I'm 28. So you're like 10
this stuff old. This stuff is a little bit past my time. I'm looking them up and like they were a little bit past my time.
Yeah. Yeah, this was like exactly my time, like the Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, the Jimmy Neutrons and stuff like that.
Even SpongeBob.
Yeah, I missed all of the stuff that
you were like Rugrats, and then we were like the end of Rugrats, and then we
yeah, I was Rugrats and like Hey Arnold and like you know like the better stuff. Sorry. I'm sorry.
You always think but that's because you're so used to like and you get a nostalgic feeling from it. Because when I watch the kid stuff now too, even like the Disney Channel stuff, I'm like, where is like That's So Raven and all that?
Yeah.
And were our jokes this corny? But they probably were.
They were. Yeah. Well, I know like Rugrats, for example, had like bad, like I didn't know, but somebody like pointed out that they had adult jokes in there. And I was like, wait, what? And like, for example,
I didn't either.
Yeah. Like, for example, like the grandpa was like reading porn. Like in the thing, like he was like, yeah, I'm going to like babysit tonight. And he like whips out a porno magazine and like, it says on it like
you see, I see those think that's okay though. Like if it goes over the kids' heads, but like this is the type of shit that the conservatives would freak out about. Be like grooming.
Yeah.
But it's like literally like there are certain things that you can put into kid films like that will completely go over our heads, that makes it a little bit fun for adults and parents.
It makes that, like, that part is good for adults now, like when you're like, oh my God, like but then if you're an adult watching it with your kid at the time, you probably laugh your ass off because you're like, oh my God, like that's funny. But for a kid, like I never fucking noticed it at all. Like I watched them as a kid.
The stuff, and I feel like that's how they used to be. A lot of the older stuff used to have just those, like it wasn't like they were trying to put a message in it. They were putting those in for the parents. Like,
they were just smart about it. Like now it's like, here's a little kid sucking a little kid's dick, and it's like, okay, nobody needs to see that. Like,
so
not even
I
adults.
loved Hunchback, but when I was a kid, I didn't get like half of it, and then when I grew up, I was like, oh,
yeah, totally, yeah. Thank you, Ryan, for this super chat. Ryan, the Eating Warrior. Okay, okay. For $4.99. Did she tell you she's a lawyer? She's a lawyer. Hey guys, she's a lawyer. Why are you having 304 on the stream? Don't support the OnlyFans degenerates. Look, I like talking to people. They fascinate me. I like stories. I like the fact that she's so different from me, even though we're the same culture. Like we're from the same culture. We've had basically the same upbringing because she grew up in the what is it, Pacific Northwest? Yeah. Like, so we are very similar, but we're also very, very, very different. And I like having conversations with people who are very different.
This is an example of what I was saying earlier. Someone who just wants like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And if you want that, then there's plenty of channels that give you that. But Nina gets bored from it too.
Yeah. And I just like having conversations with people. And I'm sorry if you don't like it. You don't have to watch this show, but hopefully you'll come back for Infinite Hope, because I'll still be, talking about good news on Friday, and then I'll have another guest on next Wednesday. So, but otherwise, that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. Push-ups for 2. Oh, we got that one. Thank you. Russell Hall for $5 says, is it intellectually lazy to push back against those who actively work to destroy culture and ruin people's lives so that they can take over and control you?
I would say it's not intellectually lazy to push back, but it's intellectually lazy to push back without thought constantly every single time. I think it takes away, just like on the left, when they call everything racist, it takes away from the instances of real racism. I think it can happen on the right, where if you push back against everything, it takes away from the times you guys are right and there is legitimate pushback to be had.
I think you're right about that.
Reaction, you lose credibility, just like the left has lost so much credibility by just calling everybody names and trying to censor.
I think you're right about that. And I can see it happening right now too, like with regards to the war. Like everybody right now, for some reason, is like, just like everybody, even if you ask like a minute question, everyone's anti-Semite. I'm like, look, if everyone's an anti-Semite, then nobody an anti-Semite. Okay. So like, you can't just go around calling everybody an anti-Semite, but hey, everybody can do them. But I'm just saying, I agree with you in that sense. Cause overusing those kind of words, just, it doesn't help anybody.
It loses its meaning.
Russell Hall for $2 says, KK also hired Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. That's true. That's true. And she's like still working there and spearheading like fucking movies and shit.
Interesting.
Yeah. God. Demogenai for $2. Hi, Demogenai. Says, hey, lady. Hope you are well. Hail, Jazmen.
Hey.
So Demogenai is another content creator. He's a very nice man. Very nice gentleman. And he's
hi, thank you for watching.
Yeah, he's just an awesome guy. Thanks, Mr. Tickle Trunk, for the toonie. Fellow liberal and Jazmen's based as fuck. Yep, there you go. See, Mr. Tickle Trunk is like, first of all, Canadian, as you can tell, because he's giving me a Canadian $2. But he's been in this space for a long time as well. And he mods for this other channel that I'm on called Midnight's Edge. I run a show there on Monday nights called Toxic Femininity, where we talk about just entertainment stuff. And he's a mod there, but he's not like he's a classic liberal dude, He doesn't always agree with everything we're saying, but he's just like, you know, I
That's
love
what
you
makes
guys.
it interesting.
Yeah.
I like the kind of stuff I like to watch. I mean, I'll watch the stuff where it's like totally on one side or the other, but when you see people like come together and actually be able to have discussions, that's what makes it interesting. So like,
so fascinating.
You want to bring in people like me and people like this into your sphere so that it's not just an echo chamber, because you're not going to have the best conversations with people that agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've had a really great conversation tonight. In fact, I told you we'd go for 2 hours and it's been over 2 hours. So that shows you how much fun I've been having. Thank you for this again, Russell. Yes, he did. And Magnum Norris, thank you for the $10. It's been a minute since I seen you. It says Persian women are the most beautiful creatures that ever walked this earth. It's a crime what is being done to them. Let them shine and stop the suppression. Sorry, not a fan of Shylock. Like, dude, nobody is.
I don't think you're gonna get any pushback for that.
No pushback on this one. You are right, sir. And I hope that one day Iran will be a free country.
And a lot of people don't understand that the people of Iran are not like, you know, like if the mandatory Rusari or hijab or whatever was taken out of Iran tomorrow, like I feel like 80% of it, more than, especially our age, would not wear it. Whereas if that happened in like, let's say Saudi Arabia, a lot of people would still choose to wear it. Like our people are pretty like, I don't want to use the word liberal because liberal means something different here, but like we are.
But it is liberal. Like they're very liberal in Iran. And it's weird though, because I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree with you because it also depends on where you are in Iran. Like Tehran is very like that, but not other places in Iran.
Yeah, that's true.
Very religious.
Not the Dahati people.
Yeah, like not the, like, you know,
the villagers,
not the Karaj kind of people. You know, like they're just very, very, very religious, and like, and that's okay.
That's
like,
okay.
They have their place too. It's just,
I'm definitely a Tehran type of bitch. North.
Me
Tehran.
too. I was born there. Tehran bitches right, like all the way. But you know, I'm just saying, as long as like, just give us the choice. Like, if you give us the choice, that's all that matters. Like Turkey, like there's so many, like Syria, like there's so many countries that have the choice. Like people are welcome to fucking, like women are welcome to wear a hijab if they want to, but they're also welcome to not and be free and like whatever. Now, I'm not like willing to, you know, ask as far as maybe you would, like, be like, let me do porn and like advertise it in Iran. Like, sure, like, you know, you don't have to do that. But
well, that's you should do that, but that might be, it's kind of too far. Like,
just too far.
Like people even look at like the Shah and everything, and they're like, oh, but there's these problems. I'm like, you can't compare to the United States. Like, you can't compare the democracy we have to like it. Like, if it happens there, it's going to be like so many years behind what's going on here. Yeah. So you can't expect like people who do the all or nothing, like, well, you know, this person is problematic because of this. You can't compare like that.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Man, Jazmn, it's been such a great night talking to you. It honestly has. And honestly, you are welcome back on my channel anytime, girl.
Thank you. I actually had a lot of fun too.
I'm glad.
Yeah, time flew by. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'd be more than willing to come back.
Absolutely. I am going to invite you back on because we need to talk more, especially if you ask your mom if she's seen Shahzad and then she gets you to watch Shahzad. Girl,
I watch it. We could do a whole stream on that.
Oh my God. We will do a whole stream on that show.
Get super Persian about it. Lose your entire audience.
I will have zero. Yeah, I will have zero audience in the chat, but we will still do a fucking show.
We will still do it. We just do it in Farsi at that point.
It'll be just for us.
Iran.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Before you go, please let everyone know where they can find you. And of course, her link tree is in the description, but tell everyone.
Yeah, so you could just go to Jazmen Jafar, JazmenJafar.me, and that takes you to my OnlyFans if that's your cup of tea. If that's not your cup of tea, I'm actually starting to try to get into YouTube too. I have an Instagram. My Twitter is all porn, free porn if you want to look at that. That is kind of it.
Girl, I have a funny story to tell you about your porn, by the way, your Twitter porn. I was like, okay, I gotta tag her on this because I was like, I made the Twitter post, but then I was like, okay, I should probably tag her on there. And then I tagged you, and then literally like 30 seconds after, like 10 fucking porn bot started following me, and I was like, no, I'm not interested in porn. Like, no, like,
yeah,
disengage,
Instagram is more like
disengage.
normal. My Twitter is like all porn, but recently since I've like when you, Chrissy, Anna, and you guys like use Twitter more, and it's so weird because it's like porn, and then I just retweet one of you guys being like, she's coming on my show. My Twitter has no words other than their tweets that I've retweeted.
I know. And then I was like, I went on your page to like get your name because I'm sorry, I had to mute your account because I was like, I don't want to see your
get
porn.
it.
Like, I'm sorry. So I muted your account, but I couldn't tag you, so I had to go and get the thing. Yeah. And then I accidentally scrolled down, and then I saw you having sex with that dude, and I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, no, like disengage. But
I get it. I always now, like, as soon as I log on OnlyFans, because I like me and my OnlyFans friends all follow each other. It's like my friend's butthole's like right in my face. So I'm so used to it with my like nudity thing. But that's why I like when we connected on that other stream and you were like, what's your Twitter? I was like, my Instagram. Are you sure? Instagram or even my email, but like my Twitter.
Yeah, your Instagram is way more PG. I was like, okay, well,
it has to be because Instagram has the guidelines. So
it's like Twitter doesn't have that. Like
Twitter, you can post full nude. Instagram will take you down like that. So you can't. Like, your Twitter your Instagram has to be PG. You can't even post any we don't even write the word OnlyFans. I always put OF. Substitute something. It's like TikTok kind of.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna contact you on Instagram
from now on. You don't need to mute me there. I mean, you might see me like in something like this. Like,
no, that's fine. That's dude, I looked at your Insta and I was like, oh my god, her Insta's so great. Like it's fine. Like I was like, oh my god, compared to the other one, because I was like, and it's funny because people are making fun of me now. Like, Nina, don't worry. We know you don't. You watch porn. I actually don't. Like, I'm actually I'm not anti-porn, but I don't watch porn. Like, it's just not part of my sex
life.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not part of my sex life. I've been married, so like I don't watch porn. But thank you, Jazmn, again for coming on. You are lovely. And yeah, like, dude, anytime, come on. You're welcome to come back on. And so, yeah, thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. We've had a great crowd, so thank you for being here. Thank you for watching over on Rumble. Thank you to those of you who super chatted, became a member, gifted memberships, all that good stuff. Thank you for making it possible for me to do this and have people like Jazmn on so we can have these amazing discussions. And as for me, you can find me on my channel again on Friday, like I said, for good news. By the way, Jazmn, if you ever want to come by, on Fridays, I do my stream at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's a really weird show, and we only talk about good news, cute animals, turtles, cute, like whatever, anything cute. That's what I talk about. So you're always welcome on that.
Sometimes,
but it's very different. Like, it's just different. It's PG, and it's just like all things that are white pilling people. Because I'm like, I need to like not be black pilled all the time. Like, I need some peace,
Oh, I'm debating a black pillar tomorrow.
Ooh.
On the Playing with Fire channel. I think his name is Wheat Waffle. So after this, I'm actually going to watch his videos and see what that's all about.
I've never heard of this person.
Well, I mean, when I looked up his YouTube, he just is like one of those crazy, like he has a whole playlist of like analyzing your face to see if you're like worthy or not. Or
what?
Like one of the, so I'm like, I don't think this is going to be too much of a difficult opponent to beat, but
oh my god! Wait, where are you having this debate at?
It's on. His name's Alex, but the channel's called Playing with Fire.
Is it a YouTube thing?
Yeah,
or
is
it
okay? Channel, yeah,
Playing with Fire. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Gotta confirm the time, but that'll be sometime tomorrow.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again, and until next time, guys. Have a good one. Bye. Oh, wait. Oh my god. I'm so bad at this part. Okay. Bye.